Mike Tomlin is out. What do the Steelers do next? And lock the doors at Giants headquarters. Jim Harbaugh is in the building. We'll talk all about it. It's the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital Live, and it starts right now.
Let's go! It's time for the talk to you. 'Cause when comes for, it's always coming through. If Boy Green is always on the scene, it was always bring to life streaming. So get ready, get ready, 'cause here they come.
All right, welcome aboard, everybody. Happy Wednesday. It's our live show, much anticipated with all the action going on in the NFL. We're talking about action off the field and on it. I mean, we're in the middle of the playoffs. And in the meantime, we've got a coaching carousel like none other. 9 available openings. And who knows, if Green Bay makes a decision in the next day or two, we might be up to 10. That's nearly a third of the teams in the NFL looking for a new head coach. And, man, the names out there are aplenty, and one just got added to the pile, albeit a guy that I think is probably going to wait a season. All of the information out there right now says that Mike Tomlin's going to sit it out here on the sidelines, maybe take a little cushy job in TV for a year or two, and then do what Sean Payton did and come on back. And if he does it next year, then the Steelers might be able to get some compensation, likely will. If he waits 2 years, then he becomes a true free agent, and then he can go wherever the heck he wants for no compensation. We'll see how that all works out. Meanwhile, the Giants entertaining Jim Harbaugh as we speak.
Lurch.
In the building. Go ahead. What?
I have to jump in. You've now done it twice. If you've kidnapped Jim Harbaugh in the building, you've got
Jim.
the wrong
Oh,
Harbaugh.
gosh,
John, if you're like,
Harbaugh names are just killing me.
we've got Jim.
Correct.
And we're like, that's the wrong Harbaugh. You have kidnapped the LA Chargers head coach. You know,
I have that terrible reputation over the
You
years.
gotta get working on that if you're going to welcome in as
mix
your
up
coach.
the first name of guys with the same last name. So my apologies, folks. You had John Harbaugh, of course. All right. Well, we'll get to it all. Boy Green, good morning to you. Thanks for the proper correction. I don't want to say that the wrong way. And let's bring in the guy who's going to break it all down with us. By the way, today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Cam's Pizzeria, where it's always love at first slice. It's Dalton Wasserman from PFF. Boy, what a boring week, Dalton. Hardly have anything to speak of with you. I'm not sure where we're going to go in this conversation.
I know, really. Don't you wish the NFL would just give us some sort of action to talk about, right? I gotta ask Boy Green something real quick, though, about something over his right shoulder there. I'm being a little nosy. Is that you and Brett Michaels back there in that picture?
What's
the story behind that right there? What's going on there?
God. Relive that, baby. Oh, look, he's going to take it down and show it.
Yeah, what is this? I need to know what this is. What's going on here?
Okay. First off, so yeah, this is a cool story. So I was going to hold
him,
this.
his dad, and Brett Michaels. That's his dad on the right. That's Brett Michaels on the in the center, and that's obviously Boy Green on the left. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess I'll hold it while
Tell
I'm
the
telling
story.
the story.
It's cool.
Okay, so here's the story of again, Boy Green, Brett Michaels, and my dad. So every year,
this year, by the way,
this is or last year, I guess technically it was.
I was going to say that.
Right.
Oh yeah, right. I don't remember that before.
Year.
Right. So no, this picture's presence behind me is new. This was a Christmas gift, but so forever. I've had this thing with my dad. We have a very special relationship that every year for Father's Day. My dad used to run this forever of like he picked some event to do. It didn't always happen on Father's Day. It could be an event that me and him just decided to do, like go to a UFC fight later in the year, go to an NFL game. We've done so many different versions of it. And it's been great. And during this my life of this happening, my dad paid for it. My dad planned it. He did it all. And as I've been an adult on my own, haven't lived at home in like 11 years or something. Like I've been an adult on my own for a while. I've been thinking to myself, when do I pry that torch from my dad and I take over this tradition we've done forever? So this past year for Father's Day.
I'm going to have to interrupt you.
Please. Yeah, go ahead.
Dalton, I believe, even though he's not giving me any credit where credit is due, I have the same tradition with my much younger son. I'm the dad, he's the son, reverse Paul situation. And for years, I have run our Father's Day thing, which I always do on Father's Day weekend. And I would, I told my son, though, I had a conversation with him when he's around 18. And I said, hey, son, at some point, you're going to take this over and you're going to be the planner. Right now, I understand I'm the adult, you're the kid. So I'm doing the planning and I'm doing the paying. eventually you're doing the paying and the planning because it's Father's Day, after all. It's supposed to be the son taking care of the father. So he knows this. We've had this conversation on the radio, and I was giving him guff on the air about, yeah, this is nice, this whole dad thing. Who's paying this thing? He's like, oh, my dad pays for everything, my flight and everything, because they're flying all over the place, going to these big, expensive games. Hey, let's go see the Cowboys in Dallas. I'm like, who's paying for this stuff? He's like, my dad is. So I was like, it's supposed to be Father's Day. What, you get a free ride on Father's Day? Look, pal, start owning up to your son responsibilities. Like I had this conversation with my son. You got to take this thing over. Is that not true, Boy Green? Did I influence you or not?
That influence, I will say that there was an influence there. I have always thought about it, but like, how do I pull it off? It's
so I pushed you off the ledge. Did I push you off the ledge?
There could have been some momentum in that direction.
Continue your story. I don't want to take credit for your wonderful experience. Go ahead.
No, thank you. That's all right. So long story short, I wanted to do something for him, but I'm like, man, what do I do? First off, like it's easy for him because he just says, hey, we're going here. I'm like, okay, to get my dad, that guy on your screen there, to try to get him to do anything. It's a rah, rah. And to try to get him to some location, if I was ever going to do something, like how would I explain it? Because I wanted it to be a surprise. Because like I think it's a big deal that finally I'm the one paying and doing all this stuff. So I said, you know, we have a shared love for Bret Michaels, that guy in the middle there, the lead singer of Poison, although he also has the Bret Michaels band and does his own thing. I said, you know, that would be cool to go see Bret Michaels. Booyah! I take him to a concert, and I thought a concert would be a thing that could be hidden. If you go to a city, like they won't know that the reason that we're at the city is a concert. I said, ooh, that could be like a hidden thing. If it's like a football game, he could just look up a football game. We're in Baltimore for a football game. That's obvious. So I tried to hide it. And long story short, so I pick Bret Michaels concert. I'm like, let me look at his tour. We're somewhere somewhat neutral we could both get to. It's in Pennsylvania that we ended up going to the horse racing track out there at the casino. And so anywho, so I ultimately convinced him. I get my mom's help to say, go on. He wants to do something nice. You guys just go on the trip. And he has no idea what it's for. So I get him randomly to Pennsylvania. My dad lives in New Hampshire. So it's this long drive and flying all over the place because he also works from Atlanta. And I get him to Pittsburgh. It's not really Pittsburgh. It's somewhere around there. But anyway, I get him to like the Pittsburgh area. And he has no idea why we're here. So we're in a hotel room. It's the night before. It's like we got there on a Friday and the concert was on a Saturday. So on Friday night, he's sitting at a table and I pull out the phone. I'm like, I'm going to record this because like this would be cool to have this moment forever of me and my dad. And I'm like, Pop,
tell him why he's here.
Yeah. Here's why you're here. And he normally figures stuff out too, which makes it even more annoying. I'm like, geez, like he like cracks it on a Christmas present, right? We're just after Christmas. He gets a gift and he feels it a little and shakes it. Yeah, this is a kerfluffle 7,000. I'm like, damn it. He always figures it out. So I said, I hope he doesn't get this. And he opens up the bag and there's like a Poison t-shirt in there and all kinds of other stuff. He's like, holy crap. It's Bret Michaels. I'm like, Dad, we're going to go see Bret Michaels, right? And that's all great. I record this video that's like 2 minutes long or something, and I post it on social media like, cool, I got to surprise my dad, and I tell this whole story about Father's Day. He used to run it. I'm running it this year. I'm paying for the whole thing. Here you go. Shit me not. The casino that this event is at, that I tagged them in, hits me up the next day on Saturday and says, hey, we want to do something special for you and your dad.
So they saw the video, Dalton, and they were so moved by it, they decided to talk to Michael, and the casino got behind this venture. This is pretty cool.
Right.
So you didn't buy a VIP, a meet and greet ticket or anything like that.
Oh, well, so here's another layer to that story, right? So I get him to this hotel, right? And I said, we're going to this thing, and the surprise that we're going to this concert. And then throughout the night, I'm looking at the prices of these things for a meet and greet. I'm like, dear God,
out of my range.
It's going to take my left kidney to get me and my dad. Cause like, maybe it's be very expensive, but maybe I could afford one of us, but is he going to get that impact if he just goes by himself to see him? I'm sure he'll think that's cool, but it'd be cooler if we could do it together. And it would have been like $1,000 or $1,200 or something for us to have done it the normal way. And I tell my dad, I'm like, I'm just going to lay this on the table. I don't know if me laying it on the table is going to make you push me over the top to buy it. But I said, Pop, I looked at meet and greet tickets and he's like, well, how much are they? I gave him the price. He's like, oh, we can't do that. That's too expensive. But we kept going back and forth. Like, Dad, maybe I should do it. We should do it. I should do it. And then he says, why don't we do this? because it's so expensive. Let's sleep on it. And the next morning, if we're both gung-ho, let's do it. And I said I would pay for it. The next morning, I go to pay for it. They're sold out. There's none left. And I'm devastated. Like, I shouldn't have been a wimp. I should have just paid for it. And I'm like, oh, this sucks. And the casino reached out and said they want to do something special for me and my dad, but I have no idea what it is. And I said, Pop, what if it's a meet and greet? And he went, there's no chance they're going to do that. He's like, maybe they're going to give you like a t-shirt or something. Like, cool. Way to bring your dad to this thing. And then it's like 4 or 5 o'clock. So it's getting really close to concert time. And I haven't heard from them yet. And I'm like, what is this going to be? Like a gift shop thing or something? And we're at a restaurant right before we go to the concert. And my dad goes to the bathroom. And then I get a ba-ding on Instagram, and I go to the DM. It says, do you want to meet Bret Michaels tonight? And I scream in this restaurant, no fucking way. And everyone starts looking at me. I'm like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. And I like rein it in because my dad's not there. So he didn't see all that. So I go, whew. My dad comes back and I tell him,
take a few deep breaths.
And then I tell my dad that we're going to meet him. He's like, no, you're full of shit. You're just making it up. I'm like, look. And then my dad never believes anything. It's a scam. You kids get scammed these days with all these things. Like, Dad, it's not a scam. It's 100% real. So we go to the concert and then it still doesn't feel real because no one gives us a bracelet or anything. So we're going through the whole concert and I'm like, oh boy, this is not good. You know, is this all for naught? Long story short, the people from the concert says, yeah, you're the guy for the video. Come with us. They brought us to the front of the line for all these people that paid to meet Bret Michaels. And we skipped the line and went first because me and my dad, as we are talking throughout the concert, like, man, do you think we get like a photo op? Do we get to talk to him for a second? Is it sort of, hey, everyone else is paying and you get the back of the line, you just sort of get a second to talk to him? And my dad was like underplaying it, like, maybe we'll see him for a second. And then we were at the front of the line and Bret Michaels talked to us and we have this picture and forever. And there's all this other stories to it too. So like, you see how I have the horn. I don't know if that's showing up here. Oh yeah. See, I have the horns up here. Okay.
Got to.
So when at first we're all together, Bret and his people are like, hey, and like they're trying to move people through. Like, hey, Paul, go take a picture of Bret. And I'm like, oh, cool. I take a picture and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, ugh, I wanted to take a picture with all of us together. So I take a picture and they move me on. All right, move over, buddy. You took your picture, although Bret was very nice. My dad goes to take the picture. And in the back of my head, I'm like, I don't know how I work. I don't know how I break the awkwardness of trying to get in there to get a picture of all of us together. And Bret goes, hey, look at these guys. They're wearing the same shirt. We got to all get a picture together, right? And I'm like, no fucking way. And I'm like, wow, that's so awesome. Bret's going to get us all together. So I'm surprised. I'm off to the side. So I'm running over there to get this picture. And I have my stupid big phone out. And I can't shove it in my pocket. So like I'm just bumbling with it like an idiot while the person is the person that's taking a picture is a Bret Michaels person. So he's just trying to hurry us through the process here. Yeah. And then I look like an idiot because I just have this weird hand. When they took the picture, my hand was all muffed in my hoodie because I was a moron. And Bret went, wait, whoa. Can we redo that picture? This guy couldn't get his horns up. He's like, it happens to me all the time. And I was like, what? And then, cool. And then it turned into this whole thing. So, yes, forever, we have this awesome memory with the greatest musician of all time, Bret frickin' Michaels, baby.
His hero.
Now we have it. Yeah.
Great story, right, Dalton? Pretty cool.
That's fantastic.
Great awareness by Michaels there, making sure that you got not just any picture, but that you got a really memorable and cool picture, you know?
Right, because to be honest, like I said, there's, I don't know, maybe 20 people were a part of this very special VIP group, and he could have very easily, all right, guys, I just did a 3-hour concert. Let's move and groove. Let's get you through. And he was just so caring and everything in between, and that's cool because sometimes I tell you, don't beat your idols and everything because it could go terrible. And I've had Bret Michaels on this amazing pedestal my entire life. So for it to potentially all be crushed because he's a jerk, I would have been like, well, that sucks. So, yeah, now I have that memory forever. I don't know how I'm now ever going to top it. Now that I took that Father's Day thing, I assume I got to take that mantle every year now. And now how the hell do I just top that? That's going to be difficult. Yes. But thanks for asking about that, Dalton.
That's going to be a tough one to top, man. That's fantastic right there. What a story.
Yeah, wow. That's not what I thought. When you said over shoulder, I thought you were going to bring a sports item up or something. I'm like, oh, what the hell do I have behind me? I was like, oh,
I'm old school with the music, man. Even now, I just threw on my first shirt I saw, one of my Aerosmith shirts. Like, I'm old school like that. I'm all the 80s and all that. I'm all in on it, man. I have my Iron Maiden tickets ready for later in the year, the whole bit. Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Okay. You talk about tough to top. Let's take it right to sports. Mike Tomlin is out. How does Pittsburgh top that? They think they're getting rid of some guy who hasn't won a playoff game in a bunch of years. Who the heck's going to replace Mike Tomlin? Let's start with that very difficult story.
I think this is going to be the hardest search to get a read on, right? Because we've only seen them search for a new head coach, 3 times in the last 60 years. So I think the Steelers are so much about, the culture and how things, are kind of the behavioral things in the organization and how they want to do things with their process. You can't just jump to the assumption like some other franchises where it's, they want an offensive genius. They want a quarterback whisperer or something like that. They really want the right character fit for this job. So I do wonder, is it somebody they're familiar with, like a Brian Flores from Minnesota? Is it somebody like, I know Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame has been floated out there as that type of leader? I think this is really the hardest job to get a read on, A, because we've had the least time to think about it, and B, we just don't know what exactly they are looking for to hire. But the Steelers are very much about their standard and their standard of character. I think that's going to be something that they're very measured about, and they take their time trying to find.
Dalton, and this is maybe going to sound insulting to the great people of Pittsburgh, but how attractive is this job? Like, Tomlin did a marvelous job with it for a long time, but Aaron Rodgers, if he comes back, is 43, or they have nothing at the quarterback position.
He's not coming back.
Yeah, a lot of the pieces on defense are very expensive, and they don't seem to vibe with the rest of the roster construction of Cam Hayward and TJ Watt and those guys. And then the talent is sort of middling across. There are individual guys that are really talented, but and then you look at the AFC North and how difficult that is. Like, with all due respect, how attractive is this job, Dalton Wasserman?
I think it's still attractive considering the history and the tradition and the stability of the organization, right? You have a dedicated ownership group. They're dedicated to winning. Omar Khan, the GM, has done a relatively good job. I'd say aside from, maybe the lack of planning for the post-Roethlisberger era at quarterback, but this is still a team with solid talent. DK Metcalf, a solid defense, even some young pieces on that defense who are still really, really good, right? And then an interior on their offensive line that I really like as well with some young guys. They just got to fix some key spots, right? The quarterback position being the most necessary one for their long-term success. We'll see what they look at in the draft, or maybe some veteran options out in free agency. And then I think definitely adding more depth at wide receiver is going to be a key. So I think for somebody with a vision, especially with what this team needs to look like offensively, I think this is a very attractive job still, because generally this is an organization that is so aligned with a vision of winning in mind.
And one of the things that has been a trademark in the few hires that they've made, as you mentioned, is they start with young guys. Like, I think this is going to be a younger guy and somebody that they see in the job, for a long period of time. This is the way this organization seems to operate. Mike Tomlin was very young when he got the job, and you go back through the history of the Steelers coaches, and that was the case in each of the cases. So give me your thoughts on that. Will it be a young guy? Is it a Clint Kubiak kind of guy, a guy still in his 30s, like Sean McVay when he was hired by the Rams many years ago? Talk about that, Dalton.
Clint Kubiak would make some sense. And sure, I mean, anytime you're hiring a coach, you're trying to find a long-term solution, right? Think about, you mentioned McVay and how long he's been there, how long Kyle Shanahan's been in San Francisco now, right? You don't have that many coaches who get to stick around that long. And when they do, it's because they're winning. So yeah, they're trying to find a younger guy who could maybe be their coach for another 18 years like Mike Tomlin was, right? So I think when you look at it from that sense, it's a Clint Kubiak. Could it be a Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator from the Chargers? I believe he's only 42 years old as well. I mean, and you want to talk about hard-nosed defensive background. That's Minter. That fits what the Steelers have been for most of their history as well. So I think that is certainly something to think about. Again, Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame fits that profile as well, as a young leader of men, right? So it's just a matter of if he's going to want to leave Notre Dame to take an NFL job. He has said no, but maybe it's different with the Steelers, and you might as well try. So I do think that is something that plays a part in this, and trying to find a long-term vision again for this team.
All right, let's get one more Tomlin flavor in here beyond whatever Lurch may have to the table. NFL Network NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport shared that in the hours after Mike Tomlin told the Steelers, hey, I'm stepping down, teams immediately contacted the Steelers to express their interest in a potential acquisition, with Tomlin still having 2 years left on his deal, and apparently the Steelers maintaining his contractual rights. And Pittsburgh basically politely said, Tomlin isn't going to coach this year, so, talk to us basically in 2027 if you're going to call back again. I turn that over to you, Dalton. I see Jet fans in the audience, and oh boy, they want it. Aaron Glenn isn't going anywhere in 2026. Could you see the Jets being in the Tomlin sweepstakes a year from now, where they will potentially give up an asset to go get Mike Tomlin to replace Aaron Glenn if he does not perform in 2026.
I could see that, especially when you consider how many extra draft assets the Jets have in 2027. That could be used to their advantage, both to acquire players and possibly to acquire a coach. And I think the big thing with Tomlin, and it's the type of hire the Jets really haven't made in a long time, is that he's not really an offensive, or by trade, he's a defensive coach in his heart. But really what he's been known as a head coach is a culture guy, right? And a guy who just brings that winning attitude to your team, right? And that's something the Jets, honestly, they haven't really tried, right? You talk about so many defensive coaches. One offensive coach they hired was Adam Gase, and that obviously we saw that went. But I think maybe that's the type of guy that the Jets would need if they were to falter next year, is somebody who just comes in here and knows what winning looks like and hires the right people around him to execute that part of it.
All right, talking with Dalton Wasserman, PFF, our NFL insider here. Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital. Don't forget to pop that subscribe button. Do that and become part of our growing family. We're giving away some cool stuff, including right now a set of bobbleheads from the movie Anchorman. Very, very cool stuff. Dalton, let's move to topic A. No doubt. I know this Mike Tomlin thing. We had to get it out of the way, but John Harbaugh is in the building. Right now at is it One Giants Drive? I don't know, down at the Meadow.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So do you lock up? You get out the bolts and the chains and everything, and just all right, he's in. Lock him in. The guy isn't leaving until he gives us a yes or no, preferably a yes. Give me your thoughts about Harbaugh being in the Giants building. Clearly, this is his first true interview in person.
Yeah, I wouldn't let him leave the building. I think if he were to leave, I think your next two options to me that I would consider are Kevin Stefanski, another veteran coach, two-time coach of the year, and then I would try to call Joe Brady from the Buffalo Bills, their offensive coordinator. But John Harbaugh, I don't think the Giants should let him leave the building. The Giants are another team, the Jets are the ones always getting made fun of, but the Giants have only made the playoffs, twice in the last decade or so? Look, they need a winning culture brought in there. John Harbaugh is a consistent winner. This Ravens team was not that far still from, they were one kick away from winning this division this year, even with all of their issues. And the idea is to build around Jackson Dart. And I actually think, part of the friction apparently between Harbaugh and the Ravens was an unwillingness to get rid of Todd Monken, their offensive coordinator. I wonder if you could bring Monken over with him with the Giants. I think he'd be really good for the development of Jackson Dart as a drop back passer, a lot like he was for Lamar Jackson. So if you were to get those two as a package deal, I think it's probably the best hire that any team could make this offseason.
And just to follow up here for people that don't know, we're like, don't leave the building. Hey, is that even allowed? What about the Rooney Rule and all that? As the NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport shared this morning, the Giants are the only team that can hire a coach right now because they've already checked off every box that is included interviewing at least two external minority and or female candidates has already happened here for the Giants. So if they reach that conclusion, oh my goodness, Harbaugh's the guy, we don't want him to leave. They have the ability to do that today, which I'm sure titillates Lurch over there as a possibility. And history was just brought back up on social media. Andy Reid, when he was fired from the Philadelphia Eagles and met with the Kansas City Chiefs, he had multiple other interviews scheduled with teams like the Cardinals and Chargers. The Chiefs did the same homework the Giants did and made sure that they were in a position to hire him immediately and not let him leave the building. That's exactly what happened. We all know what happened here with Andy Reid. So it's all lining up for the Giants to be able to do this. It all depends on Harbaugh if he wants to go through his process or not, because there are two other perceived finalists for Harbaugh in the Tennessee Titans and the Atlanta Falcons. I'm curious, just giving that flavor. I'm sure Lurch doesn't want us to talk about that possibility, but the Falcons makes a lot of sense to me. That division stinks, and there's a lot of talent on the team with Bijan Robinson and everything else, Drake London. But like the Tennessee Titans, like this is a team that had the number one pick last year, and there's all kinds of front office changes that are happening there. Mike Borgonzi's already in place. Does it surprise you that Harbaugh is like, whoa, he's intrigued, obviously, by the Tennessee Titans and clearly Cam Ward?
No, because here's what I'll say. That's kind of a clean slate when you're looking at that team, right? If you believe in Cam Ward, I think this situation is a little bit like New England's last year, where if you believe in this quarterback, you have enough resources to go and really overhaul that roster. I believe they have a top 3 amount of cap space in the league heading into the offseason. They have a top 5 draft pick that they can take to, take a new number 1 receiver, to take a prime defensive player, to trade down and get a boatload of assets if they want. There is a lot of flexibility when it comes to improving that roster. And that team, their offensive line started to look a little better late in the season. The front 7 actually is pretty good. I don't mind their front 7. They need one more edge rusher. I think Tennessee is the most prime Ruben Bain team in the entire draft, to be honest with you. If they add him, I think the front 7 could be really good. And again, they have a ton of cap space to add veterans at certain spots of their team that they could get better. Their roster and resource situation, I'm not saying at all it's going to be the turnaround that New England had, because Mike Vrabel's worked miracles over there this season. But what the resources that they have are very similar to all the resources New England had last season. And you've seen how that's gone. So I think Tennessee is at least worth looking at if you believe Cam Ward can be their franchise quarterback.
All right, Justin Wasserman, our NFL insider. I'm sorry about that, Boy Green. At MC Show Digital is the place to be. Today's broadcast is brought to you by our friends at Cam's Pizzeria. Boy Green, hold that thought. We'll just take 30 seconds to learn a little bit more about our friends from Cam's, and we'll be right back. Plenty more NFL talk to get to. Stick around.
When you think of Cam's Pizzeria, think about 2 of your favorites. Their zesty buffalo chicken wing pizza or their tasty chicken bacon ranch. Over 16 specialty pizzas made fresh daily with the best ingredients. Indulge in their homemade calzones, subs, wraps, salads, and their famous cannolis for dessert. They're all made with love just for you. Order online for 10% off at camspizza.com. Locations in Camillus and Oswego. Cam's Pizzeria. It's love at first slice.
All right, we are back. Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital. Don't forget to pop that subscribe button. And, of course, you can hit the thumbs up like if you like what you're hearing. There's our YouTube handle, youtube.com/@MC Show Digital. Only, 10 away, Boy Green? No, 15 away right now, I think, from giving away those bobbleheads, Anchorman bobbleheads. And we've also got the golf club, the golf driver donated by our friends at Played Against Sports. That's going out the door when we get to 500 subscribers. A nice landmark for us here, as we've only been in existence about 6 months here on YouTube. So join the family, as they say, man. We'd love to have you be part of the family, All right, Boy Green, go ahead. Next question.
So, we started this with Brett Michaels again, the GOAT. God, bow down to the greatest musician of all time. So we've done some Brett Michaels, we've done some Mike Tomlin, then Lurch is like, the real story is John Harbaugh or Jim Harbaugh or the entire Harbaugh family. But here's the real story.
To be honest with you.
Maybe you can acquire them like Infinity Stones. But here's the real story, Dalton. You know what the real story is today. It's Dante Moore's decision. Screw the Giants. This is about the Jets, baby. They have the number 2 overall pick. If Dante Moore declares, that's good news for the Jets no matter what. If they want to take Dante Moore, they want to trade the pick to somebody else, it's all good news. The value of that pick goes down significantly if he stays in school. Dalton, you're a college football guy. You're an NFL guy. PFF pays you a lot of money, and for good reason. I know why. You're a handsome bastard, but we need the answer. Is Dante Moore entering the draft or not? We're going to find out at some point today. Today is decision day, but give me the scoop, Dalton, please, for the love of God. I've been on the edge of my seat. What is happening here with Dante Moore?
I wish I could tell you. I could tell you. Trust me, I was just looking off to the side here, refreshing Twitter to see.
That's what I'm doing.
It feels like that announcement any minute. It has to come today, right? I mean, there's a handful of guys in the draft I'm waiting on, but that's obviously the biggest name that everybody's waiting on, the biggest name that Jet fans possibly are waiting on. And after that, kind of rough showing against Indiana, there's some debate among Jet fans as to whether they should actually take him. But if the Jets feel like he's good enough, then take him second overall. If not, then you can pass on him. You could trade down the pick. And you're right, it does make that pick more valuable, because I don't think they would take Ty Simpson second overall. I don't think they would take Trinidad Chambliss from Ole Miss second overall. And there's some debate still about whether he could go back to Ole Miss somehow with some appeals and things. But it certainly would at least add to the value of the draft pick if Dante does come out. There are some flaws to his game. He's still very young. He can develop these things, but he's super talented. The arm talent is awesome. He's a solid enough athlete to go out there and make plays. And I really think when you look at it in the context of, look, his only 2 bad games this year came against Indiana. Find me somebody who's had a good game against Indiana, that Indiana team this year, right? So I think you have to discount it just a little bit. But no, I'm on the edge of my seat just like you are, man. This is the news of the day that we're waiting on.
And to just take the Jets thing a step further, because these conversations continue to bubble. We talked last night with a host from WFAN, Danielle McCartan, about the Jets and the Jets situation and this whole bubbling of Mike Tomlin and so on and so forth. Do you think there's any chance? I know you're a Jets guy too, Dalton. Is there any chance that the Jets renege and say, you know what, there's just too many good guys out there, we gotta rethink this thing, and we could take a swing at one of these guys right now, and they back up the truck, so to speak, and decide that Aaron Glenn, as much as we love you, we don't love you that much, we're moving on. You think there's any chance the Jets, put the cork back in the bottle here or not?
I don't think so. No, I think Aaron Glenn's getting 2026, right? I think they understand that they really stripped down this roster, obviously trading Sauce Gardner, trading Quinnen Williams, and getting all those draft picks. And I think the idea is, does Aaron Glenn have an idea? He's gonna get some power over step one here with these 2 first-round picks, 4 picks in the top 45. He's gonna get some power over the beginning part of this roster. Now, it's debatable whether he should have that or not, right? Because if you think about, okay, if the goal is to win more games in 2026 and he has these young guys and he doesn't get that done, then what do? He only gets to see through half of a rebuild, or how does that work? But it also has to be, is there somebody out there that they feel aligns with the vision of Darren Muji in the front office more? Right now, I think they're going to keep riding Aaron Glenn for at least one more year. We'll see what the mandate is as far as winning games. And I do think that might be reason that there's extra pressure to maybe take a Dante Moore if he is available 2nd overall, or with one of their other picks, take a Ty Simpson or a Trinidad Chambliss, right? But I don't think right now that they're going to turn the back on him. It's too late. And with all of these openings and seemingly more attractive openings, I don't know who they're going to find at the moment.
And Dalton, I know we're running out of time with you, so this will be somewhat rapid fire here for looking at, there's playoffs this weekend, for God's sake, so with the divisional round. Neither of our teams are in it, so it's hard for us to, care to that same degree. But let's get into it here. The 2 number 1 seeds on the respective sides of the conference enjoyed a bye, and now they're entering the football playoff octagon for the first time. We have Seattle on the NFC side, Denver, of course, on the AFC side. Who do you think of those 2 number 1 seeds has the best chance of making the Super Bowl between them, based on the path that we now see in front of them?
I'm going to say Seattle. I think Seattle and Houston have the 2 best defenses in football. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba has been really either the first or second best wide receiver in football this year. And if their offensive line can play like it did the last time when we saw them play San Francisco a couple weeks ago, and look, San Fran's D-line isn't great, but it was still a really good performance. If their offensive line can hold up, I think Seattle can absolutely be the best team in the NFC. It would not shock me at all if they have to go through the Rams a 3rd time to get there, but I think Seattle would be the more likely of the 2 to win the Super Bowl.
And Dalton, so does that mean you trust Sam Darnold, the former Jet?
I trust him enough if they can protect him. Yeah.
Okay. If they can protect him, you trust.
All right. Yeah, here's my last one of the NFL. Who's on upset alert this weekend in the divisional round? Again, we've got our final 8 here. Bills, Broncos, 49ers, Seahawks, Texans, Patriots, Rams, Bears. Who's on upset alert?
Boy. See, the weird part is 2 of those road teams are the ones favored, right?
Yes,
the Rams and the Bills. I'll say this, actually, if we're going betting lines and upset alerts, I'm going to say the Rams. They're going on the road. It's going to be freezing cold up there in Chicago. Matthew Stafford doesn't have a great history in the cold like that. And I'm at about an 8 out of 10 level worry about this Rams secondary. They have not looked good for a month and a half. They did not look good last week against Carolina. And we just saw what Caleb Williams can do in the second half of that Packer game last week and what he's done so often in the 4th quarter of these games. The Rams are going to have to find a way to slow the game down, or the secondary is going to have to play better. At this defense, I'm a little more worried about it than I was the first half of the year. I think if we're calling the Rams road favorites, and I think it's about by 3 or 4 points somewhere in there, I'm going to say they're the ones on upset alert.
Does the ease of schedule finally end this weekend for the Patriots? Man, they've had an easy path here.
That's a tough game. I'll tell you, that's a tough game to call. I'm going to say New England wins because I am worried about this seemingly high percentage chance that Houston won't have Nico Collins. That's a big difference maker to me. If they don't have Collins and Stroud struggles the way that he did last week, it's going to be hard for them to score points as well. I know the defense is outstanding, but we're going to find out how good Drake May is this week. And at home with a healthier team right now, if Collins is out especially, I know that's a very tough task, and their offensive line is going to be put to the test. But I think Drake May has shown that he's enough of a playmaker. He can scramble. He can make throws outside the pocket. I think he can make enough plays to get it done, and New England will be in the AFC title game.
All right, Dalton, last thing here. Prayer circle. Say more today. God, say more, please.
Let's see. I'm gonna do one last check before we get out of here. Let's see. Any Dante Moore breaking news? Let's see.
Part of our issue is he's out on the West Coast. He's probably still in bed right now.
Figure it out, pal. Wake up.
Oh, that's true too. It's all of 8:30 out there. He's probably not doing it this early in the morning.
Okay.
Man,
Dalton.
Nothing. I've got nothing. I've got nothing. The only thing I can tell you is I don't know if you'd seen the headlines that Dylan Raiola transferred to Oregon. Yes. That apparently has no bearing on Moore's decision. That Raiola would be willing to sit as Moore's backup for a year if he stays, to then develop and start for the Ducks in 2027. So my immediate reaction was, are they prepping for him to leave? And it has no bearing on Dante's decision. If Dante leaves, Dylan will be the starter. And if he stays, Dylan is willing to be the backup. So that has no bearing on the decision at all.
Wow. The drama. All right, well, we'll be on the edge of our seats for it, Dalton. I'm sure we'll be texting about it later, one way or the other, either commiserating and drinking together, or perhaps euphoria, jubilation, celebration. Please.
Oh, you know exactly what will happen too. It'll come on. That announcement will be made 45 seconds after you guys go off the air. That's exactly what will happen.
Probably.
That's how it happens every time.
Beauty of the internet, we can just come back on the air. In the radio days, we were done till the next day. Yeah. In the internet world, hey, we're back. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry we were away for 5 minutes. We got a big announcement. That's the way it goes.
Still, but it is normally what you say. It is immediately after. So, Dalton, you're the best. Enjoy. I know you guys are all getting ready for the PFF NFL show and everything else you guys got cooking. So, awesome. Thanks, brother.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys as always.
All right. There he is, Dalton Wasserman, PFF, joins us every Wednesday for our live show, kicks it off with us and breaks it all down. Sorry, I guess because of the Brett Michaels story and all the weedings there, we didn't get to break down the playoff games. And Paul and I are here to break down the playoff games. And you're welcome to jump in the comments as well and give your thoughts. I already see Bears fan Jamie with his positivity getting after it. My Bears going to lose. I mean, come on, Jamie. Did you not learn from the last game when you had your boots on, your coat on, and were ready to leave your friend's house at the door, and your friend was like, yeah, I'm going to watch the rest of the game. There's still a quarter to go here. Did you not learn your lesson? Or the last time when they were way bound, I mean, how many times? What, they come back 5, 6 times? They're the comeback kids, for crying out loud. They're the cardiac kids of the NFL this year. Stop staying down on your Bears. Look, they have a tough task. The Rams are tough. I'll tell you what, the Rams look really vulnerable in last weekend's win. So, I mean, I'm feeling better this week if I'm a Bears fan about what the Rams look like. Now, I expect the Rams to get it together. I probably will pick the Rams unless the spread is prohibitive. I haven't seen the spreads yet, but I would not rule the Bears out. The Bears could go out there, have a terrific performance. Let's not forget it's in their place again. Yes. The Rams, the nice, cozy indoor team that plays in that beautiful, pristine stadium, is now going to play in the wind, and who knows, maybe some snow and maybe some sleet, and who the heck knows what's going to be going on in Chicago. That definitely stacks the deck in Chicago's favor. Let's not forget Matt Stafford, as good as he's been, is an old man. He doesn't, everything hurts. The wrist, the fingers, and everything hurt more. And he's got to deal with that too, right? In the cold, it does. I mean, you saw Rodgers even looked somewhat uncomfortable in that Pittsburgh game. And this very uncomfortable in a lot of cold weather games. And he's like, at 42, man, I wish it was 70 and sunny here, man. I'd rather be playing like in Jacksonville or something, So, I think that definitely swings the pendulum a little bit towards the Bears. I think the Rams are up for it, but I wouldn't count the Bears out. So positivity, Jamie, you're a Bears fan, for crying out loud. Hang in there, man.
Yeah. Again, we're going to make all our picks on Friday, but, Chicago, and I don't know why Jamie doesn't feel more confident. Chicago just feels like the team of destiny. They are inevitable. That no matter what the circumstances is, they're down 1 million points. They've been the comeback kids all year long. And that's probably not good for the, heart doctors in Chicago of all the patients they're currently seeing. But I mean, it's just been incredible. It does feel like there is this it factor with this team. And for a potential rookie head coach to do it, and Ben Johnson with a young quarterback, I mean, would be spectacular. So I love that Chicago's at home. Matt Stafford got banged up in that game. They've been dealing with a lot of injuries too. I don't know. I really like how Chicago's lining up. And again, we'll see when the point spreads. I'll be sending out that sheet later today.
I would offer, I kind of feel like the Bills are the team of destiny, but man, they're going to have to overcome massive adversity.
Oh my God.
They are so banged up. And man, that kind of stuff, it's hard to keep, just dipping into the will of the team. But we've seen San Francisco. Are they not in a similar predicament? I mean, offensively, I think they're in pretty good shape, although losing Kittle, I think, is a big blow. But defensively, they've been in a shambles all year, and they're just, Robert Saleh's out there preaching. It's just, everyone to the ball. It's 11, all 11, and he's got them playing. At least in that first game, they played pretty respectable defense. So that was a nice response to that dud that they put on the table to try to win the number 1 overall seed. So I kind of like, the idea that teams can rally despite not having their best guys on the field. And Buffalo, again, has that one guy. I call him Superman. You might call him Josh Allen. But that guy is a game changer, and he can change any game at any moment. And if you're in a game and he's got the ball in his hands, I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good about my team's chances to win. So I don't know. I just feel like it's more of a Bills destiny year just because of how the chips have fallen, and without the Ravens, without the Chiefs, without all these adversaries now kind of lining up in their way. Yeah, there's a new bunch of contenders, and they look formidable, but they don't have the experience that the Bills, I think, bring to the table, in particular the quarterback. That's why I feel that way.
No, and that's a good way to feel about that way. Again, it's interesting we use this term team of destiny. If the Bills and their Bills Mafia fans win the Super Bowl this year, it would be the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Surprising, I guess, but that's not the word I'm looking for. Just like a level of unbelievable that this isn't by any stretch of the imagination the best Bills team we've seen over the last 7 years. There's been much better Bills teams. Yes. And the fact that they've been scraping by with this hodgepodge of receivers. They just put Joshua Palmer on IR. Gabe Davis is on IR. They have more guys on IR than they have healthy receivers on the team. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So they're going to have to, by hook or by crook, figure out who the hell is trotting out there to do it. So yeah, maybe this will be the year for Buffalo. But boy, they got a difficult challenge over the weekend. We'll see.
And Patriots, I was just looking. Did they split with the Patriots this year? Yeah, they did. Okay,
they did, because the first one was, of course, in Buffalo. And, Bills had won 5 straight division titles. They were the big bosses. New England hadn't beaten anybody. New England came in there and then beat Buffalo, went on this historic winning streak. And then Buffalo got them back when that game returned to New England, where the Patriots had a chance to sweep.
Right. They had the chance to sweep, and they didn't give them the chance to sweep. So one of the reasons I think I really like the Bills is if they can get over the mountain that is beating the number 1 seed, in a Mile High City this week. That will be no easy task. That is a very difficult defense that is going to make things difficult on that receiving core and Josh Allen to score mega points, and that makes I think they get in a shootout. They're in a better situation than if they get in one of these grinders in a lot of ways, because that's probably the way that, that the Broncos wanted to play out. They don't want to go toe-to-toe with Josh Allen. They'd rather go toe-to-toe with that Bills defense, which, there are inherent weaknesses. But if they get by them, and I think they can, then they're likely going to get the Patriots. We'll see. I mean, maybe Houston will beat them. I mean, Houston certainly can take a swing. But let's just assume the seed over there, the higher seed, wins. I love the Bills to go to the Super Bowl, because I just think the familiarity would give the Bills a big advantage, despite the fact that it's got to be played in Foxborough. And as we just said, they won there this year already. They can do it again. No problem with that.
Of course. Yeah, if I'm Buffalo and that situation you present, they upend Denver. They go to New England if that was the opponent they played. If I'm Buffalo, I'm going in there with a lot of swagger and confidence of like, hey, we beat this team. We are back in the Super Bowl for the first time since the 90s. Like, man, that'd be very compelling. Very disgusting for me that an AFC East team would be guaranteed to make the Super Bowl, but that would be an awful AFC Championship game, but good for the fans, I guess.
Yeah. Good for the fans. Good for the fans. All right, so let's go through them real quick, Boy Green, the games themselves, all right? Start on Saturday. The early game will be the Bills at the Broncos. How do you see this?
As you predicted.
How do you see it playing out? What's your prediction? Let's lay it out.
Yeah, of course. Again, Denver got the bye. They earned their number one seed and their placement. It is a difficult place to play in Denver. And we say that sometimes about really hard places. Wow, look at this raucous atmosphere of this. But it's the mile high. It's the fact of the altitude of trying to get there early and try to, sort of acclimate yourself if you can to that advantage that Denver has as a built-in thing. You can start sucking wind sooner. It's that's very difficult. It's hard for someone that's never been out in Denver. It's hard to explain for people that have never been in that situation before. But that's incredibly difficult. The Denver defense may be the best defense in football, though. With all due respect, Houston is very much in that conversation. Denver is just suffocating. They're aggressive. Nick Benito has been spectacular this year. They've got pass rushers. They've got PS2 at corner. Like, man, they just have name. It's the John Gruden called them this nickname last year. I'm not sure if it still holds, but the no-name defense. That no one really knows who any of them are, but they're just nasty and they cause all kinds of issues. So I think it's going to be a steep challenge for Buffalo. My gut tells me Denver's going to win. Sorry, Buffalo Bills fans out in the audience. While some will trust Josh Allen, the quarterback, more than Bo Nix, I trust the team, and this is a team game, and Denver is rolling heavy with their posse in Denver, where Buffalo, they're looking a little razor thin to me at several key depth areas.
One thing that I will say about the Denver defense, and I followed them very closely all year long because I had them on my fantasy team after you and I made an early season trade or mid-season trade. I had the Denver defense, so I was tracking that defense every week, playing them and starting them almost every single week. The fact of the matter is there is one weakness of the Denver defense, and statistically it holds up, and that is they've only forced 17 turnovers the whole season, and that is basically middle of the pack in the NFL. So, yeah, they have a top-tier level defense in terms of the players that they present, okay, and their overall team defense. Probably, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but, how they did as an overall defense probably ranks certainly in the top 10, I would think, all right? But they're middle of the pack in terms of turning teams over, all right? And as we know, in the playoffs, man, turnovers are so vital. I mean, they can literally flip a game on its head. So that's the other thing that I kind of like about the Bills' chances is that the Denver defense, as good as it is, doesn't, at least during the history of this season, hasn't turned teams over an inordinate amount. Very average defense in terms of creating turnovers. So if you want to look at a weakness for the Denver defense, that might be the one little grain of salt that you could take a look at. I know that because the turnovers are fantasy points, and I care about those things. And I was like, why are these guys getting any pick sixes? Why aren't they, getting any getting any fumble recoveries? Where are the interceptions, for crying out loud? I need more, because I'm greedy when it comes to fantasy points and defenses. So there you go on that game. All right, let's go to game 2 on Saturday, Boy Green. We've got the San Francisco 49ers, the Miracle Kids themselves in a lot of ways. How are they doing it with the glue and tape and everything else? The 6th seed advancing in that one as well. They'll take on the number 1 seeded Seattle Seahawks. I know you love Seattle. You love Sam Darnold. You love yourself some JSN. Give me your thoughts. Is this thing going to be a game or not? That'll be Saturday night, an 8 o'clock start.
This is the largest spread of the weekend. The last time I checked, Seattle was a 7.5-point favorite against the San Francisco 49ers. And Lurch. Poor Lurch. In Week 18, we talked about that Seattle-San Francisco matchup, and I said, I trust Sam Darnold. I'll go with Sam Darnold. And you berated him. You dunked on him. You disrespected him. You dissed him. And then, of course, Seattle wins, gets the number 1 seed, and here we are. So I am expecting a full, unmitigated apology from you for the disrespect you gave to Seattle. And that obviously you're picking the Seahawks to advance the NFC Championship game, as you should. And that is an apology that I might consider accepting. But it was so disgusting, so unbelievable that I'm still somewhat taken aback by the take that happened just a handful of weeks ago.
Well, he was such an epic performance by Darnold in that game. A 13-3 win. He threw for a total of 198 yards.
Efficient.
I mean, that's like below the Mendoza line. He was 20 of 26. I'll give him credit there. He didn't throw any picks in that game. Nice. He also had 0 touchdowns in that game as well. 13 points they managed to score against the defense that everyone thinks is one of the most porous in all of the NFL. So checks notes here, right? Is that your little saying there? Checks notes. All right. Checks notes is this. It was the Seattle defense that won that game against the 49ers and not Sammy Darnold. And I still have full faith that Darnold somewhere along this playoff run. I'm not sure if it'll happen against San Francisco here. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe San Francisco and that rallying defense can, push the sun back up into the sky one more time. I don't know where I'm going to go in this game picks-wise because those points are going to be tantalizing.
Sure.
But I still don't trust Darnold. I just think that the choke job is coming. Before we get to the Super Bowl, the choke job is coming, and Sam Darnold will start seeing the ghosts again. He'll butt fumble it like Mark Sanchez did or something like that. Something god-awful will happen, all right, and he'll be responsible for Seattle losing a game in the playoffs and not getting to the Super Bowl, even though they're the number 1 overall seed. So I stand where I stand, Boy Green. I'm not backing off. If Seattle ends up in the Super Bowl, I'll eat some serious crow, but I am sticking by my guns. He didn't choke clearly in that final game, but I don't think he did anything to glorify himself either. He just got the job done. That's fine. That's all you really need when it's all said and done. But, I think it might take a little more than get the job done either in this round or the next to get to the Super Bowl. So we'll see. We'll see where it all goes, but that's where I stand. So I think Seattle wins this game, but by how much, I'm not sure. But I am kind of leaning Seattle. I will definitely, I think, be rooting San Francisco because I just love kind of their arc, and I just love what Shanahan is doing and how he's getting unbelievable production out of whatever he's got, which is all over the place and not exactly a full toolkit here. So he's missing his wrench and his screwdriver, but somehow he's still fixing the whole car and rebuilding the engine. And you're like, how's he doing that? Don't you need those tools? And well, now we can use this and this and put it together and we can get one of those, So he's figuring it out. I just love his moxie, but that San Fran defense, it's just like, is that thing going to hold together again? I don't know. I don't know if it's going to do that. All right, let's move to Sunday. We've got 2 games on Sunday. Now, the games are unconventional times. As mentioned on Saturday, it's 4:30 and 8, okay, which is typical for the Saturday games.
Very typical.
It's one of the games into prime time. We saw that again last weekend. For the Sunday games, though, we get a little funkadelic here now that we're down to only 2 matchups. It'll be 3 o'clock and 6:30, okay, are the 2 game times. And let's start with the 3 o'clock game. That'll be the Houston Texans visiting the New England Patriots. I've mentioned before, Boy Green, New England's easy road. Does the road come to a screeching halt here in New England?
By the way, that weird time is normally what they schedule for the conference championship games, which is interesting. And I only remember that because 15 years ago, the Jets got one of those slots back in the day. In 2 back-to-back years, they had those slots for the AFC championship games. Good times. Way to randomly work my Jets into this conversation. It has nothing to do with the Jets. Patriots, Texans. Again, I feel like I sort of had the perfect temperature when we did our Friday picks segment last week, and hey, Paul, Texans Steelers
in that defense. Yeah,
I like you said defense, but I didn't trust the offense of CJ Stroud. He is wildly inconsistent, and boy, did we see those ugly turnovers and discombobulation. But the Pittsburgh couldn't take advantage of them, so it didn't matter. And despite the fact the game was close up until a point, now we go here. Nico Collins had a very gruesome is too. It's too eccentric of a word to use, but he just had a very awkward looking concussion in that Steelers game, which was scary. He had to be carted off the field. He initially got up and tried to walk towards the direction of the Steelers sideline because he thought it was the Texan sideline. And the guy went, no, it's this way, man. So he was all kinds of discombobulated. Again, we've talked about this all year long. To try to turn around from a concussion from one game to another is very difficult. And for the Texans to be without their star wide receiver, would make this an even tougher challenge. I think the Texans defense would give anyone problems, let alone New England. So I think those problems are going to be for real. But boy, I think the Patriots can score more points than Houston is capable of. I am rooting like hell for Houston. Again, the pick sheet will come out later today. My gut tells me, unfortunately, that New England will squeak by. They're going to score
was
more
a mess
points
in this game. He could turn that around. I mean, he
hope
tried
so.
to force some stuff. What was he doing, man? Running up in the pocket, people all around him. He's holding that ball out there like a breadbasket.
And then they're running trick plays when they were moving the ball down the field and say, hey, let's try a trick play. Why? It was working. And then they discombobulated and it's a fumble. And oh, Jesus. It was
when you're just
terrible.
taking it to the opponent your way. That's not the time where you go, hey, let's go deep into the
Let's
playbook.
get cute. Right.
It's like when things are really going wrong and nothing's kind of working and they figured out everything you were going to bring to the table and you aren't, you're trying to change it on the fly, that you say, hey, let's go off the page here a little bit and throw something at them that they're not expecting and then see if that gets us going, gets us a little momentum. I agree with you. That was a very odd time to call that kind of play. So, but the Houston defense is formidable, Boy Green. I mean, man, they made life miserable in that pocket. The amount of hits, they grind, man, and you can tell, like, even the sideline, I know their coach, obviously, D'Amico Ryans, is a defensive guy, but that whole sideline seems to kind of wait with bated breath when the defense is out there, not when the offense is out there. When the offense is out there, they all have these concerned looks on the sideline, like, oh, come on. When the defense is out there, they're all like, yeah, we're going to get them. So, I don't know. That team is built around defense. This will challenge the theory. Can a defense get you all the way? I mean, certainly we've seen it in the past, the 85 Bears maybe being the greatest shining example of them all, with a somewhat adequate offense built around Jim McMahon and Walter Payton. I mean, that team was not scary offensively, really, in the grand scheme of things, but they were incredibly scary defensively. So can Houston create that same kind of specter? Many would argue they are the best defense left in the playoffs, but they just can't have C.J. Stroud go out there and cough it up 3 times, 4 times. That's the way you lose games. They were lucky to win that game considering the turnovers, but the defense just didn't allow anything, and that was ultimately the difference. So,
and just one more shout out that just needs to be said. I don't know why this person does not get the love he deserves. Danielle Hunter. Let's give a shout out to Danielle Hunter. This is a guy that has had 4 straight double-digit sack seasons, 15 sacks, 12 sacks, 16.5, 10.5. He had a down year in 2021 with only 6 because of injuries. And then he had 14.5 back-to-back, down year again at 7, and then he was at 12.5. This guy is only 31 years of age, and he's one of the most dynamic pass rushers in the game of football. Quite frankly, he's one of the most dynamic pass rushers we've ever seen in the history of football. He's already at 114.5 sacks at 31. If he continues on this torrid pace, I mean, he is going to finish in some very, very elite categories. So I don't know why we don't talk about him in this light. He's been a vagabond, sort of bouncing around to different places. Maybe that's why, I don't know. But, man, he is stupid talented, and we saw that in that wild card round. Man, he's so good.
Yep, he's good. There's no question about it. So that's a good shout out there. All right, final game of the weekend, Boy Green. As I mentioned, it'll be about 6:30 on Sunday night, and it is Jamie's Bears against the LA Rams. It is the 2 and the 5. A lot of people like the Rams. I have them going to the Super Bowl, so I certainly know where I'm putting my money or where my mind is at right now. Like I said earlier, though, the Rams really weren't the juggernaut that I thought they would be against Carolina. They squeaked by 34-31. Listen to Matthew Stafford's numbers, 24 of 42. I mean, that's just not good percentages. He also had the interception in the game as well, but he did kind of pull it all together when it was all said and done, ended up with 304 yards and 3 touchdowns, so you can't refute that. Of course, Puka Nacua is just a machine, 10 catches for 111 yards, averaging over 11 yards a catch. And with Devontae Adams back in the fold, he caught 5 for 72. You got to feel pretty good about what their receiving core can produce. They got the tandem running backs now in Kyron Williams, and they're running out Blake Corum more and more often these days as a little bowling ball kind of effect. So the Rams have a lot to offer. But again, they weren't that impressive to me against the team that many saw them thumping. They did not thump Carolina. They were in a game right till the end. And then, of course, you got the comeback kids. So tell me about your thoughts on this one.
2 things here, Lurch. Remind me, I have a special thing to do after we're done with the NFL picks. Okay. So just remind me that.
You got it.
I want to make sure I don't forget, because I want to answer your NFL question here, but I've got something to do and say and all that. So just remind me, and I'm sure I'll remember. And for this game, again, I don't understand why Jamie's down on it. The big thing is, of course, health. And we were talking about that from Stafford from before the season. He got hurt. It looked like it was bothering him. Now, in fairness to Stafford, the adrenaline was rushing in the game. Immediately after he injured his hand, he threw an absolute perfect bomb to Puka Nacua. It should have been like a 50-yard touchdown, but Puka dropped it, smacked him right in the hands, and he dropped it. So Stafford still has it.
Never see. My God, that was shocking.
Yeah, bizarre. Puka has such great hands. So that was, and that could have changed the game, which we never knew what would have happened. It was so close at the end, which I'm sure we're all happy about. But the fact of the matter is in the moment he was fine with adrenaline, but some of those injuries can swell up with just days of just sitting around and going through practices and stuff. So I don't love the Rams with Jimmy Garoppolo waiting in the wings.
Oh, God,
You know, some teams have better quarterback situations. It's very tough, finding a star quarterback as your QB1 is tough enough, let alone finding someone you think is competent enough to be QB2. I'm just not sure, with all due respect to Jimmy Garoppolo. I just don't feel great if he has to come in and do anything for this team. But, man, I just keep saying it. The Bears just seem like this team of destiny that anytime anything goes wrong, they figure it out. Caleb Williams is incredibly volatile. He has plays that he does that I'm like, my jaw, I'm trying to find it on the floor. It's spectacular. Hell, even in that Packers game on 4th and 6 and rolling out, if that's incomplete, the Bears lose. He found, I think it was DJ Moore on that play, rolling off to the left, and boom, keeps it alive, and then they end up making the ultimate comeback. So they just keep finding ways to do it when it's necessary. Does the Cinderella story end? Does the glass slipper no longer fit on the cankle of the Chicago Bears? And then they're like, geez, it doesn't fit anymore. And then the magical journey was just always supposed to end in the divisional round. That I don't know, but man, they certainly feel like a team that has that special it factor at this point. So I'm leaning Chicago heading into this game. It should be a lot of fun. Again, we got offense with Stafford and Caleb. So I certainly hope we get it.
Well, to me, I feel like they're a little ahead of schedule. So, if the Bears don't, go all the way here or get to the championship game, to me, it shouldn't be massive disappointment. This is the way the NFL typically works is you move up the ladder in stages. You don't usually jump from nothing to huge, you usually jump from nothing to something and then from something potentially to something huge. So I just don't know if the Bears are ready. You say on one side, Caleb Williams, has your jaw on the ground because he makes a phenomenal play at a phenomenal moment, and he's done that in his second year here, working with Ben Johnson, this new coach who seems to really have his ear and is getting him right. But then I see Caleb with the 20-yard, over the guy's head, and guy's wide open, and he misses him badly. He's looking at one side of the field and there's two guys open on the other side of the field. I mean, there's just things that just keep cropping up. You're like, oh boy, lucky he got away with that. But like in the playoffs, you get away with less and less and less because the quality of the opponent is better. The scouting is that much more on point. The stakes are so high. Every single player knows what those stakes are. So winning playoff games is just really difficult. Why don't you just ask Mike Tomlin how he feels about winning playoff games? He's been a pretty darn good regular season coach. It is just not easy to get these playoff wins. So I just like the Rams experience, but absolutely, if Stafford's out or Stafford is seriously compromised and is out there trying to throw it a bad pinky and he can't even keep that pinky on the ball and that's affecting the way it comes out of there, all bets are off. I mean, then I might want to, go with Chicago, especially if the weather's bad. But, on what we know at this point, Stafford has already announced he's playing. How healthy he will be, how long he'll be able to stay out there, of course, is in question. But with Matthew Stafford, who I think probably deserves the MVP this year. I know there are a lot of arguments for Drake May, and they had a better record. But I just think, I think not only was I more impressed in general with Stafford this year, a little bit over May, but I think the other part of it is that, like, he's been there forever. So why wouldn't you, if it's 50-50, let's just say it's just like hairs, it's just a hair, I'd give it to the vet and the guy who's never gotten one because of all his trials and tribulations over the kid who, could win 3 of them, who knows, the way the arc that Drake May is on right now. So I don't have a vote, but if I had a vote, my vote would go to Stafford, and then May would get my second place vote. I don't know if you just vote for one or if you get, first, second, third, like the Heisman, but, I would vote for Stafford despite the fact that, the Rams slipped a little and ended up being a 5 seed. I still think he's deserving of that honor this year, but he definitely has turned human here in the playoffs and in the latter part of the season. Because remember, he had that streak of no interceptions and then that got broken. And now it's kind of come off a little bit off the rails a little bit for him, where he's been a little bit imperfect, dare I say. But part of that could be, again, nicked up, banged up. The pinky obviously was bugging him in the last game, and yet he still managed to finish it. So we'll see where it all goes. So there you go. There's our takes on each of the 4 games this weekend. Let's hope it's as good as last weekend, Boy Green. I mean, man, did we see some fantastic football games. Literally all but one game was, to me, pretty scintillating. I know that in the end, that Pittsburgh game ended up being a blowout, but I still kind of enjoyed watching it and the ebb and flow and seeing Aaron Rodgers out there for the last time. The New England game, to me, was the clunker in terms of just from a watching standpoint, but man, the others were phenomenal.
Yes. All right, Lurch, so let's get to it.
Okay, yeah. What do you got? What's this thing you got? Sounds like a Johnny Raincloud kind of thing. What's going on here?
I got a piece of mail.
Oh, okay. You think like, it'd be Publishers Clearinghouse and you just won $1 million or something and you're about to, go crazy.
Okay. Okay. What is this?
Folks, I have no idea what he's up to here. No idea what he's up to.
Let me
He got
go full
something in the
screen
mail.
here.
He's
Yes, I
pulling it
did.
out. Yeah, baby. There she is. Oh, baby. It's like like you put it on and we should have like angels in the background and so on and so forth.
Sure.
So the plates, folks, that is the plate.
Yeah.
And I'm sure did all four come in together?
They did, yeah. So let me go full screen and give everyone a chance here in all our different leagues. So let me get these all in order here. So Jim the Manchild Lurch, Stairway to Evans is our Manchild Show Champs League. This is for our fantasy football leagues through this digital show. So shout out. We'll start off with Jim the Manchild Lurch. Give a shout out here to Mike Nikoski, Titletown Cheeseheads. He won our Chumps League, so he's coming back to our live draft this year. Congratulations, very much so. We have Jeff Abramov, Rabel's Rage. Okay, he won our Triple C League. He's moving on to our Chumps League, getting closer and closer potentially to our live draft. And then finally, Tom Stebbins, a.k.a. Big T, who has been a big fan of our radio show for a long time.
Remember, he was the guy that came on the radio with us before we were off the radio, and I suggested, because I'm a big fan of Seinfeld, he change his name from Big T to T-Bone, because that's what I remember George wanted to go by the nickname T-Bone, and then the boss, Kruger, gave it to the guy sitting next to George after George tried to claim it for himself. Hey, let's call him T-Bone. And he was like, no, I'm T-Bone. And he didn't get to name his own nickname, which you never should do, by the way. We have a rule against
Definitely not. That's against the rules.
So anyway, and I saw Tom was DMing with us upon his victory and everything, and congrats to him, by the way. Great work, Tom. And he said, I was thinking about changing my team name to T-Bone, but we were already into the season and I was doing well, so I didn't want to give it any bad karma. But I think there's a good chance now he's coming up to the Triple C that he might go with T-Bone next year. So I like that. T-Bone.
Yeah, so shout out to T-Bone, and again, shout out to him. He had one of the greatest fantasy seasons we've ever seen. He was like 14-1 or something. I don't have it in front of me. So congratulations. Those are our 4 champions. All of the fantasy football trophies are around Brett Michaels, apparently. I won't put these on yet, but we'll have some unveiling. We'll gather all these champs around together. We'll find a good time at some point for additional content on the MC Show digital channel where the champs can brag and enjoy and bask while I'm awkwardly there for no apparent reason. So, yes, I'm putting these back in the case that they came in as we wait. But all the trophies are here. Your plaques are all here, people that won your respective championships. So we will have some crowning at some point somewhere in the next week, I'm sure.
Yeah, I wonder if we could somehow, this is not the easiest thing in the world. I think knowing who the victors are, that they're all local or local-ish, I'm pretty sure.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so we know Mike is obviously local. Obviously, I'm local.
Bramo is local, and then if Big T is local, so yes.
T-Bone is
T-Bone,
local too.
right, T-Bone.
That's a new name, T-Bone. I don't know. I know you hold all the trophies, but it would be
bring them somewhere, like we go out to lunch or something.
Thing if we each had our trophy in our hand, and then we did a collaborative
photo,
show where we were each holding our trophies and showing it, and maybe each person, how in the major leagues you get to pick a song when you walk up to the plate. So maybe for each individual, you get to pick a song, and we'll play a piece of that song as you display your name on the trophy, so on and so forth. So maybe we could do something fun like that.
A lot of ideas. We'll do it. Yeah, sure. I think they are all local.
Be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think they're all local. So yeah, I'll cycle to all the champions now that everything is here, and we'll make it happen.
Yeah, maybe we meet at one of our Cam's pizzeria locations.
Sure, perhaps.
I might be willing to spring for a pie for the four victors. Boy Green, you'll have to buy your own. You're not getting any free pizza if you didn't win.
I won't get any of the championship pizza.
This year you didn't win anything, so you don't get any free pizza. And you have to pay for your slices. Sorry, pal.
Thank you. That's all right.
So that's not a bad idea. All right, so the placards are in and soon to be mounted permanently on our championship trophies for our 4 fantasy leagues. That's cool. That's awful cool. And there'll only be one name on that champs trophy that is now appearing for the 3rd time. And that would be
correct. I can confirm.
We wanted it bad, folks.
I did very badly.
I bask in one end, but the other end, I'm like, how did this happen? I can't even believe I won. I mean, like, my team was just a disaster when I needed them most to have it together. They were a complete disaster, and I was literally scraping off the waiver wire to find starters, guys that could get me 6, 7, 8 points. Could you get me to 10 maybe? And hopefully my superstars, because I had some good players on my team that were healthy. But, man, I had a lot of secondary players who were all hurt. And so I was having to go to like 4th and 5th guys and hope that they could just give me a week at the right time. And somehow, some way, either I got the week like I did in that final week with Luther Burden showing up and Caleb Williams having a nice big week after I lost Patrick Mahomes. And then my opponent just having a kind of a mediocre week at the right time. So you need a little of that luck for sure to win fantasy leagues. And for me, that it just kind of worked out. It was very unlike either of the other 2 years that I won, where I felt like I went into the playoffs with a good, solid team and really, really rolling. This year, I was like, oh, boy, I am limping in. Oh, thank God I have a bye and I don't have to play anybody this week. I probably would have got knocked off, And then the second week, I'm like, ooh, tough matchup. Ooh, I hope this works out. And then my opponent has kind of a mediocre week. I'm like, all right, I survived that. I didn't do great, but I survived. And next thing you know, I'm in the championship against you. And I told you, you were looking like the team of destiny. I was like, oh, man, he's going to win again. His team is it's coming together at the right moment. I had the better team all year. But right now, he has the better team. I'm probably going down. And then, get some good performances out of a few guys that you don't expect, and the whole thing flips on its head.
Well, forever, I'm going to hate Luther Bird and his entire family. Yeah. So thank you, Luther.
Definitely on my draft list for this coming year.
Oh, that's good to know.
He's definitely a late round guy that I'd say, come on aboard, Luther. I'll take you, man. I'll take you.
He's definitely off my list. There's no chance I'm taking Luther Burden. So
you want him on your list. Maybe that's the whole point, is that you want to reverse the karma and bring Luther to whatever Boy Green's team name is going to be next year.
I've got work to do. And again, we're going to the lab. We're going to get better. I hear people championing me. Oh, cool, Paul, you've been in the championship game 5 of 9 years. How impressive. I'm here. We play to win the game. I want winners. I didn't come here for second place. Second place is the first loser. So I came to win. I want to be on that championship trophy 10 times.
So let's ask you the difficult question, right? So that is the facts, that in the 9 years we've had the league, you've been in the title game 5 times. And I say that is incredibly impressive. You've won twice. So now you're 2-3 in the championship game. Not as impressive of you, have only been there 3 times in 9 years. Still impressive, but compared to your 5, really not all that impressive. Yet I've won all 3. So who would you rather be? Me or you? Take the names off them. Which one do you want to be?
Obviously you.
I don't. Okay.
Again, it's cool that other people, and again, it is unbelievable that we've had 12 teams that are all vying for this thing, super highly competitive, and have been able to get to the doorstep 5 times. Again, more than half of the times of the league. If every other year I'm in it in the running to win the championship. That's super cool to say out loud. But again, I'm here for wins. I'm not, again, it is on any of these trophies second place. Did I miss that when I was looking at them? That, we all know that fun fact, but like it's not on the trophy. In 100 years, we're all dead. And someone would say, what the hell is this trophy here? They're going to be like, oh yeah, in 2018, Paul was in second place. No one's going to remember that. You have to win. Winners win. Winners write the songs of history. So no, I'd much rather be you.
All right. Okay. Well, you're not, unfortunately. So I get to be me and you get to be you. Right now, I get to hold it over you at least for another season, that there's only one 3-time winner, and he's sitting right here. There's only one undefeated guy, and every time he shows up when it matters, he makes he gets the win, gets it done. So with that being said, there's only one last thing to say, and I can't wait till John Harbaugh is introduced as the next head coach of the Tennessee Titans. So, you little dog, you. Let's whip through the comments before we get out of here. Sure. That'll be our final thing. I always love to give people at least an opportunity, if you said something meaningful or something we want to repeat, that we can throw it up there. So let's. I'll just start at the top, Boy Green, and we can just work our way together. We can kind of tandem it. I'll start with Jamie, the FedEx guy, jumps right in there early today and says, "Manchild, you ain't getting Harbaugh or Stefanski. Who's your third base?" Ooh, that hurts. Ouch. Third choice. Yeah, right. Who would third base be? Third base would be Mike Tomlin. There you go. I'll take Mike Tomlin as third base. So he's not coming. So who is third base? I mean, Stefanski, you said yesterday on your thing. Out, right? So You
Right.
know, to me, right, Stefanski was third on my list. I did make a revised list yesterday. I understand the circumstances with Tomlin, but he's still number one on my list. If I have the choice, Weck and Cab that's, quote, available, and Tomlin is technically available, even though we're hearing word that he doesn't want to coach, you know, so what? A phone call, he's just a phone call and a paycheck away and a trade away from making something happen. But whatever. Let's take him off the table, but he's still my number one.
Wait a second here. Let me just share this update. So Art Rooney II is speaking right now at a press conference, and he said an interesting thing that immediately impacts what you just said, but that he was willing to run it back with Tomlin again. He thought that was a conversation they were going to have, and then he found out it wasn't. But he said this, quote, Mike Tomlin indicated that he did not anticipate coaching in the future, wanted to spend time with his family. Right now, coaching again doesn't seem to be on his radar. Wow. So maybe he retires.
Yeah, he's going to coach again. That's a wonderful thing to say. I think that's what Mike is feeling right now.
Sure.
I think all of these guys, this is a guy that shows up. I was telling you this off air. Shows up at 5:30 in the morning every day at their headquarters. Okay.
Yeah.
Starts watching his film and, you know, over his coffee and his donut or whatever it is he eats for breakfast. And, you know, and then he's probably there till who knows what ungodly hour of the night before he goes home, gets a good night's sleep, and shows up again the next day. All right. I mean, this guy is a tireless worker like coaches need to be in the NFL. You go from that life to suddenly you're home, you're hanging with your kids and your wife all the time, whoever's in your family, you're, you just got all this free time. It's like the guy that's worked his whole life and then you retire and you're like, what do I do today? I don't have to go to work. I don't have to get up this early. I could sleep in. And, you know, the novelty of it wears off very quickly for those that work hard. And this is not a guy, by the way, whose body is at, 60 or 70 years old,
Right,
and he's
53, I believe.
wearing down and he's all like, I'm exhausted. I'm tired. My body is telling me I can't put myself through this kind of stress day in and day out. Mike Tomlin is still, by coaching standards, an incredibly young man. He's coming back to coach. If he feels that right now, I guarantee you 6 months from now, he's like, all right, let's see what's out there. This TV thing's been a little fun, but let's keep our eyes and ears open here. Let's see who wants to give me crazy money to come back and start a whole new thing somewhere else.
Here's another quote. Art Rooney II was asked, would he consider trading Mike Tomlin if that opportunity presented itself in the future? Quote, Mike indicated that he did not anticipate coaching, at least in the near future. If something were to come up, we'll deal with it when it comes up. But right now, that doesn't appear to be on his radar.
Yeah. And again, the word near future. Okay. Again, part of that quote that I'm reading between the tea leaves here. I mean, Mike Tomlin is feeling the way he's feeling today, and I don't blame him. And he wants some time off. And I think he will take a year off. I don't think that even the Giants or whoever is out there that's looking for a coach could woo him right now. Because I think he's in that mindset where he had convinced himself it was time for him to step away from the Steelers. But I think a year from now, he's going to be hot and heavy. There are going to be a lot of people hot and heavy for him, and I think he's going to be, receptive to all the wooing that's going to come his direction.
So, Eddie, who's your official third option?
Huh?
So officially,
who's third option, right? So if I can't have Stefanski and I can't have Harbaugh, wow. I mean, now we're into that world where you're talking about assistant coaches. You're talking about DCs and OCs, because who else out there? I mean, LaFleur,
Mike McCarthy,
if he became available. Mike McCarthy, is there. But, we had a discussion with Danielle McCartan last night, and she was very high on Mike McCarthy. And I was actually quite surprised to hear her say the things that she said. I thought she brought up a lot of really good points. But my retort to her was, how are you selling that to Giants fans? Giants fans hate the Cowboys, and we don't want a Cowboys retread. A guy that, didn't know when to call timeouts and managed the clock absolutely miserably for some of his seasons with the Cowboys. We don't want a misfit in charge of our organization, and he's can you tell me how old McCarthy is? I just feel like, I bet he's not any older. He's probably close to the same age as Harbaugh. I mean, I bet you they're close in age.
He's 62.
He's 62. And what is Harbaugh right now? What's John?
I believe he's 63, but let me double check.
Harbaugh's actually older than him.
Yes, Harbaugh's older than McCarthy.
Like the feeling, even though the reality is McCarthy's a year older than Harbaugh, the feeling is that McCarthy's like an old curmudgeon in some ways, maybe it's just the way he looks with the beard and the salt, the salt and pepper look.
Maybe. Yeah,
I don't know. It's just McCarthy just comes across as like the grizzled old school guy. And even though certainly Harbaugh has some old school mentality in him, he just comes across as a more vibrant guy, both personality wise and just physically, just the physical look and kind of the youthful exuberance that he has, even being in his 60s. So, but I don't know how you sell it to your fan base. I mean, Mike McCarthy has proven to be a good coach on the NFL level. There's no debating that.
He's got a 600 winning percentage. He's won a Super Bowl. Yeah.
It's like Harbaugh. He's got a 600, over 600 winning percentage. I just don't think he could sell that to Giants fans. I mean, I'll be like, you kidding me? This is what we came up with. We're searching, nationally, internationally here, and we circle back to the guy that the Cowboys threw out the door a couple of years ago so that they can bring in their guy. I mean, are you kidding me? Schottenheimer? What? Like, no way. No way. Mike McCarthy deserves a job somewhere. That job, I don't think, is going to be New York. So, no, right. He's not on my list. So he doesn't even make number 3 on my list. So who else is left that has experience, Boy Green? I mean, if LaFleur came available, then he would
Brian Flores.
But
we've talked about that before.
Flores to me would be fascinating. But the Giants aren't going to do that with him suing the Giants.
He's currently suing them right now. So that's
just the most awkward, weirdest, strangest thing ever. So I don't think I don't think they're going to interview. They haven't so far. They've interviewed
here's another one.
And I don't think they're going to. Yeah.
Another one I'm not sure if they've interviewed, Robert Saleh. He is one of the hottest candidates out there right now.
I know. And I don't understand why. The work that he's done as a DC is admirable, both prior to getting the Jets job and now post-Jets job, especially considering the conundrum that the 49ers defense is in, that he's gotten them to rally and play reasonable defense at important points of games. But there was a lot of noise after he left the Jets about leadership qualities and how he ran that thing and the lack of accountability. And I don't know. There's a stench there that I don't care that it's the Jets and some people want to just write it off to, it's the Jets. It's not just the Jets. I mean, he got a chance to run a team and he kind of ran it into the ground a little bit. He had a fantastic defense at one point. And it didn't, really live up ultimately to what many people thought it could have. So I don't know, and they gave him the keys to the city. They let him go get, Aaron. They let him go, bring in Aaron's pal, Devontae. They let him do a lot of things, to shape that roster and to try and put it in order and to put as many good people on that roster, some vets. And it obviously didn't turn into anything. So,
and speaking of Aaron, real quick, Art Rooney again is speaking. So when these interesting quotes come out, they said, "Wow, Art, what's Aaron Rodgers' future?" He indicated that maybe he would consider, continuing his football career. And Art went, "Well, Aaron came here for Mike Tomlin. Tomlin's not here, so." I think that's going to, long story short, he thinks that's going to strongly affect his decision because Aaron is a free agent. So Aaron and the Pittsburgh run appears over. If Aaron is to continue his journey, which could come with the Vikings or another team, it will be elsewhere, it sounds like, from this reporting. But just want to get that in real quick.
I think Rodgers' best path, if he's going to come back and play next year, would be not to sign with anybody and to wait for somebody to lose a guy middle of the season. And then he becomes a half-season kind of guy. He keeps himself in shape, with the awareness that, if the right situation comes up and he gets on a playoff-bound type team and takes them across the finish line. Look at, again, perfect example this year would have been if he were available in that scenario in Indianapolis, okay, and what happened there. All right. Now he jumps in there. He's got a really competent offensive line in front of him. He's got all kinds of weapons, including a great running back in Jonathan Taylor. He's got some very viable receivers, and he goes in there and he takes those guys to the playoffs. I mean, they waited too long for Phillip Rivers to begin with. All right. And then number 2, Phillip Rivers, is even older than Rodgers, for crying out loud. So I just think like that kind of situation might be like the last hurrah if there's going to be one for Rodgers. But if I'm reading the tea leaves, I think Rodgers is done. I think he's got enough interests off the field. He's made enough money. I just don't think he needs to do
I could see the Vikings thing. Again, that he wanted the Vikings last year. They didn't want him because of JJ. JJ stunk. Yeah. I could see that coming together with Kevin O'Connell. But we'll see what happens. Who knows? He could totally be done. But anywho, just want to do
So Saleh, no. Boy, The answer is, I mean, we're back to the young coordinator world. We're back to the Chris Shula, Clint Kubiak. I don't
Anthony
know enough. I wish I
Weaver.
knew more about Hafley. I mean, I've done a lot of reading about Hafley,
Yeah.
but I just think that would be such a disappointing hire considering everything that's out there. But look, Jamie, why are you even making me think about this, frankly?
Yeah, you jerk.
The fact of the matter is, John Harbaugh, by the end of today, if not early tomorrow morning, will be announcing he's the next Giants head coach, and we'll get on with it, okay? And then you can stop with all the insults and he's not going there, and, Joe Shane stinks. The Giants got to get the job done today. It's just that simple, and hopefully they will.
Okay.
Giants Nation will band together.
I love the shout out here from Phil. I like the WFAN analyst you guys had on. She's very knowledgeable and brings good energy. Yes, that's Danielle McCartan. I used to work with her 10 years ago or so.
Yeah, Paul knows her.
In the media world. She's terrific. I've been able to follow her journey, and she's blown up. So good for Danielle. And we'll be trying to mix it up. There's a few regulars like Jake Asman. We're really enjoying. He'll be on. We'll have a Jake Asman Jets podcast today after Dante Moore makes his decision. Hopefully, later today where there's time to have a podcast after the fact, we'll have Jake on. But every once in a while, it'll be good to mix it up with other analysts. And it was good to get Danielle on. She was terrific. And we split it up. We did something very unique. There are 2 Danielle interviews you guys can listen to. They're both from the same tree, but one is Giants inspired. One is Jets inspired. The Jets interview is doing very well right now. So thank you to all the fans in our audience. So both interviews are available. If you're a Giants fan, there's a conversation. If you're a Jets fan, there's a conversation. So I hope you guys really enjoy that. But thank you, Phil. We're going to try to mix up our guests every once in a while, but we also like some of our classics too. It's a good balance.
Jump down to this one. Mad Mertz says Steelers history says they will hire a solid coach. Certainly history does say that. Any arguments or thoughts on that one, boy?
Yeah, that's I would go back when I pushed back to Dalton, or did not push back as I started the conversation. When I told Dalton, how attractive is this Pittsburgh job? Look at this. One of his things is, stability. They've had 3 coaches over the last 75 years. So if you get this job, you're going to be in it for a while. Although I would say there is an inherent pressure, right? The reason why Tomlin is leaving is because he didn't win playoff games. And that's the standard. So someone with all the roster questions I had has to now come in and win playoff games. So that's very difficult. But I think that, again, I don't want this to happen. My buddy Marcus Freeman, I hope he stays at Notre Dame forever. That would be very tantalizing if I'm Marcus and an NFL job opened, and that job
there were again reports either yesterday or the day before that he's staying put.
Correct, right. And again, that's what I would keep.
It feels like it was already, isn't it over already? They gave him an extension, isn't it over already? And they had to reiterate yesterday, he's staying at Notre Dame, so his camp or the Notre Dame camp is continuing to say, stop inquiring. He's staying here. It's over.
Yes. So we'll see. But that would be the one that I'd be sort of intrigued by. But no, history says that they're a very stable organization and they make good decisions. So they haven't had to make a hire in 15 years. So that's a little different.
My buddy Eric Reinhardt says the following. I think it's the same Eric Reinhardt. I know this guy. I used to work with him. Tomlin should have been fired 5 years ago, immediately following a 4th-and-1 punt past midfield while down 14 to Cleveland in the wild card. Man, talk about going back to a moment in the game. He's learned nothing, and nothing's changed. So there you go. There's a perfect example of a Tomlin detractor. I called my buddy. I have a very close buddy who is from Pittsburgh, lived his whole life in Pittsburgh. Now he actually lives in the central New York area, but he's a true Pittsburgh. Went to elementary school there, high school there, lived it, knows all about the Yinzers, knows all about everything Pittsburgh. And he's my go-to when I want to figure out the pulse of the fans in Pittsburgh, because I think he's a living, breathing example of it. And he also understands that there's different elements of the fan base, which is also intriguing. That he doesn't just look at it only through his prism. He also can talk to me about the other prisms. So before the broadcast this morning, Boy Green, I called him. I knew he was at work, but I was like, I'm going to call him. I want to see if he answers his phone. I want to ask him about the pulse of the fans here going into today's broadcast in case I get asked a question or want to articulate that a little bit. And he said the following to me. This was really kind of some cool stuff that he said.
Okay.
One of the things he said, I just asked him flat out, did you want him to go? Would you have wanted him back? He says, yes, I personally would have wanted him back. I said, all right. Tell me why. So he gave me his little reasons behind that. And one of the things he said in that, he goes, since he's been the head coach for 19 years, think about this for a minute, Jim. Since he's been the coach for 19 years, other than a game at the end of the season where we're sitting our best players because we had already clinched something or something, every single regular season game has meant something. He says, I know you're a Giants fan. Do you get to week 12 or week 13 and then now realize everything means nothing because you've been going through quite the spell? I was like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. By a certain point, I mean, I'm almost like, do I even need to watch this weekend? What am I even doing here? I'm rooting for the team to lose, which has been a perpetual horrible thing to have to do. He's like, well, we haven't had that in 19 years. Every game means something because we're on a march to something every year, a division crown, a playoff berth, an over 500 record, yada, yada, yada. I was like, oh, yeah, boy, wow, think about that for a minute. That's kind of crazy. So that's the level of greatness that he is. Okay, I know. He's only got one Super Bowl. He's only got 2 appearances. He hasn't done it in quite a while. The arguments are out there. And he said, the Yinzers, as they call them, kind of the hardcore Pittsburghers, he said, they're calling for his head. They want his head. He says, in my opinion, they're spoiled. In my opinion, they just, they set a standard that in reality is probably unattainable in today's NFL. So he had a pretty good perspective on it. He actually was very measured in his response and really, really gave me a good sense of it. But I thought that statement that he made about, we haven't had a non-meaningful, every single regular season game over the last 19 years has had meaning. I'm like, wow, that's crazy to think about that.
Yeah.
All the way until the last game of the year, wow.
Right.
Bro, it's kind of so.
More comments. This one is inside baseball here, but Mad Mert says, "Hey Hap," referencing Hap in the chat. Kind of quiet in here compared to this morning show. Yeah, the Asmaniacs, which are the group of Jake Asman's followers and the Boy Green Coffee Clubbers, as I suppose they're called in there, started going at each other, calling war in the comment section over this Aaron Glenn thing, and it was intense. People picking sides, getting fiery, and then Jake heard about it, so he started tuning into the show. And oh my goodness, wow. I just did not think that this would be the most divisive thing that we talked about in the show's history, and yet here we are. So
he's not going. But we had Jake on around a week ago, and Jake was, there are times when you feel strongly about something, and then there are times where you are absolutely emphatic. And I've had those moments. I've had moments where I was like, Boy Green, I don't care what you say. I don't care what they say. This is where I stand. This is why I stand there. And I am standing on this mountain, and I will take on everyone that climbs it. I'm at the top, and I'll just keep knocking you down. There's no way you're wrong. I'm right. That's it. And that's pretty much where Jake stands on Aaron Glenn. Jake has taken the ultra strong stance. I even went back and listened to some of his show with Mike Tannenbaum, and they were really going at it. And Tannenbaum was trying to be measured and using his prism to state something that he believed to be realistic about the Glenn era so far. And Jake would have none of it. He just did what he did when he came on with us. He just battered us over the head with really convincing stats, asked us tough questions like, give me one reason. Just give me one reason. Okay. Why? What has he done well? Give me one thing that you can hang your hat on and say, I like Aaron. And you or I would say something. You'd be like, no, that's not true. He did that. He did that. And they're like, all right, well, how about this? No, he didn't. So it was just like, he's just way over here. All right. And we're either closer to the middle or just towards the other side. I don't even know that we're way at the other end. We have seen the flaws. We have seen the problems. We are alert to it. But I think ultimately, both you and I have assessed a year's not enough. That he hasn't wrecked it in a year to the point where we just feel completely and utterly like he can't do the job. Jake has reached that point. We're approaching that line, but we're not there, and still feel like let's do one more year.
Yeah.
All the things that are on the table with all the picks that are out there, I think he has a chance to flip the opinion back the other way. And Jake's opinion is, no. You don't give a madman all these draft picks, all this opportunity, because now he can ruin you for another 5 years, right? Yes. So you don't make that decision until the end of this coming year. He may have already taken a wrecking ball to those great draft picks that they have this year, and you need to jumpstart it now. We need to change it now. We need to do it now. So Jake is now. He's totally in POM world.
Oh, nice.
He has very good reasons for it.
So
I'm not calling out Jake and saying he's a moron for having the opinion that he has. He has a very strong opinion, and I respect him for it. I just don't, at this point, fall in his camp. He may turn out to be right, which
could be
look a little bad for us, but he also may turn out to be wrong. And I think that, sure, you can always say, well, compare him to everyone else that's like him, and 9 out of 10 times, it's a no-go. The guy should have been fired, and you would have been better off. And those numbers will bear out, and he rolled them out to us. Yeah, but I'm betting on that 10th time. I'm betting on that last time.
Yeah.
I'm thinking with what they have and what's going on and how it's been working, that he can be that guy. If Jimmy Johnson never got that chance, he wouldn't have had the legendary run he had in Dallas. If Dan Campbell hadn't been given a chance, he wouldn't have turned around this Lions team the way he did. And the examples are out there. I know some people have criticized me because I've gone back to Chuck Noll. I'm just looking for, really supreme examples. I think there are many, many other smaller examples.
Sure,
but the fact of the matter is, it does happen. You're not going to tell me it's never happened. You're going to say it's less likely to happen. Okay, I'm living on the less likely side of this argument right now. I understand where I stand, but yet I still stand there. So that's just the difference between where we are. So I'm not surprised it's a heated debate, because I know a lot of the folks that listen to your show every single morning and the Boy Green Coffee Clubbers, they tend to be, dare I say, the more optimistic Jet fans. Of course, there's always the Alans and some of the others.
Oh, right. They're not all
in that world. But that's okay. Those people are okay too. I never mind detractors as long as they're respectful. When you start getting idiotic personal, then it ticks me off. Then I'm like, okay, go away. I don't want to hear it.
Again, I welcome different opinions.
Argument. Let's have a good debate, but let's not have a vicious debate. There's no reason to do.
It is on my morning show. It is a melding coffee mug. There's a lot of different perspectives that come in, and that's totally okay. Jamie throwing a spear in your direction, saying, Manchild's really only a two-time champ. 2017 doesn't exist. It doesn't count because technically we didn't talk about it on the radio show. Me pitching to you and
that was year one.
Right. Technically, it ended up being year one, but I was pitching you guys behind the scenes on fantasy football being a big part of the show. In 2017, while we all did a league together, it didn't make it to the airwaves, so it wasn't including callers and stuff until.
And Jamie wasn't in the league. That's why.
Correct. So that's why he says it doesn't exist. Correct.
Okay. Well, you can say all you want. Go look at that trophy, and my name's the first one on it. So there you go. That's all I got to say about that. The trophy would tell a different story. If you're looking at our Stanley Cup, my name is on it in 2017. That's all I care about. It's written and etched into history forever.
There you go. And one other thing, hey, wait, is this Mad Merch? Not going to comment on content, but BG is way ahead on personality. Oh, I thank you. I appreciate that. Although I don't want to start another war here between me and Jake Aspen. Everyone can like who they like. But the other thing I did want to highlight here, Lurch, and if there's other comments you want to bring up, feel free. But one of the things I wanted to highlight is that we continue to climb up the subscriber leaderboard here. So I want to throw this back up as we have over 300 people in the room. We've now reached 462 subscribers. So there are 13 spots left. We'll play the video here in a second.
Play right now. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, we have 13 spots left, people. Let me just explain this real quick, then we'll play the video of what is happening here. We have a free giveaway happening on the channel. All you have to do is subscribe to that channel. You may have come across this channel a lot of different ways. Facebook, my Twitter account, my YouTube account, perhaps. But go to that YouTube link on your screen. That is youtube.com/@MC Show Digital, or to simply search for the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital, and you join that army. There are 13 spots left. If you're one of our first 475 subscribers, you will be eligible for this.
All right, everybody. Our next giveaway is going to be right out of the Manchild's collection. These bobbleheads from the Anchorman, a collection of 4. Check it out. We've got Veronica Corningstone right here. Very cool. Brick Tomlin, the weather guy, the zany weather guy played by Steve Carell. Check out, yes, Brian Fantana with the Sex Panther in his hand. Very, very cool. And then lastly, the sports nut Champ Kind. This collection of bobbleheads going out the door once we get to 475 subscribers. Subscribe now. It's absolutely free.
There they are, the entire collection. I walked over, Boy Green. That's why I turned my camera off to grab one of those guys, and it is Brian Fantana. Let's get a good look at that Sex Panther. There it is.
Yeah, there you go. Nice.
Look at that crazy thing. And by the way, I'm ready to go in terms of shipping. Look at this, Boy Green. I got these cool. Look at this.
Nice. That'll protect them.
And the bobblehead will go, so it'll be nice and protected. I'll put it in a beautiful box to you so that they get to you hopefully very, very safely.
Again,
I'm ready to ship, baby. Just got to get to 475. Let's do this, baby. Let's do it now. Let's do it.
Again, yeah, that would be great. Again, we have 300 people in the room, so technically we could get there right now on the show. Again, 462 subscribers. It's free to subscribe. It's right there. YouTube.com/@MC Show Digital. And folks, if you're like, dang, man, I really wish this would get along, well, then recruit people, family members, friends, neighbors, whoever you want. It doesn't matter who the people are. Maybe that can increase your chances. You get a brother, a sister, a mother, or whatever. And if they are the lucky person that gets pulled from the raffle, then you can win. They can get you the prizes, perhaps. So make sure you do a full recruiting pitch. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers ultimately. And then beyond that, that's a big thing we're shooting for with some of these free giveaways we're doing. But again, 13 spots left for the Anchorman, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. Brick Tamlin, Brian Fantana, Champ Kind, Veronica Corningstone, Ron Burgundy, the Channel 5 news team. It's terrific. It's a terrific movie. So, folks, get a piece of cool movie memorabilia history and subscribe right there. Lurch, can you answer this question? Badshaw says, how many, great personality. Thank you. That's highlighted the wrong one right there, but thank you very much for saying that. But no, Badshaw saying, how many subscribers are we from taking phone calls on the MC Show digital channel, Lurch?
Like I said, I've been sitting since we started this channel that we would do some regular phone segments once we get to 500. Here's the meaning behind 500. Number one, we wanted to give ourselves some time just for you guys to get to know us and see kind of what the show is all about. You can obviously tell the kind of hot button topics that we talk about. Obviously, we're very Jets Giants centric since those are our fandoms, and it's nice to kind of have that New York juxtaposition from time to time and that little bit of rub that sometimes Boy Green and I have. We obviously, because we sit in central New York and there is another New York team, the only one that actually plays in New York technically, and that is the Buffalo Bills. As you can tell, we certainly do a fair share of Buffalo Bills coverage as well, and we have insiders for the Bills on with us every week. We have that weird, odd connection to the TV show Survivor, so we're going to continue to do stuff on that. That obviously is a little bit of a specialty item, but if you also are a Survivor lover, and I suppose any sports fan out there could also love the TV show Survivor, we continue to do that. And then, we still are, because we sit, again, in central New York, connected to Syracuse football and Syracuse basketball. So you will see content on the channel from time to time regarding the Syracuse stuff. But again, one of the really cool benefits about the way we put the stuff out is we also put it into what you call playlists on YouTube. So if you become one of our subscribers here on YouTube, you can just click on the playlist tab when you come into our main channel. And if you're just, hey, I love the Jets and I just want to hear what they did on the Jets this week, you'll have all of our Jets shorts and all of our Jets interviews just lined up, boom, 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 in that playlist. Pick the latest one and play it. Oh, I want to check this one back from last week. They, it's got an interesting headline here where they were talking about something that I'm really interested in, and you can go back and watch anything like that. We have one for the Giants. We have one for the Bills. We created one for Survivor as well, and we created one for our SU content. So really kind of like the 5 biggies, if you want to call them, that we cover all have their own individual playlists. So you don't have to just go into the general channel and search for stuff. You can go into the playlist and see what's being dropped in there most recently. So that's kind of where we are right now. I think that the channel will continue to evolve based on who our people are and who our subscribers become and who our loyalists are. There's Boy Green giving you kind of a look at the homepage.
Yeah, here's what it looks like real quick. Again, you go to the homepage, you see all these tabs: home, videos, shorts, live, playlist, post. You hit playlist, and then look. We had our special Hard Knocks, which was a cool local story that we did for my
we created a special playlist for that. Yep.
So Bucks Knocks, which was great. You see fantasy football in there. Inside the Orange, we have our farewell tour from our final week of radio. But again, Survivor Insiders, inside the Bills, inside the Giants, inside the Jets. So again, whatever you are a fan of, you can get immediate access to, and those will always be in there for all our videos. And that includes videos in the past and then videos moving forward. So guys, to try to make it even easier for you guys. So again, if you guys can do any recruiting to help, again, we are just, what are we at? Let me hit another refresh button to see if we've grown it all. We're at, again, 462 subscribers. So we are 38 away from our big goal of 500, but 13 away from giving away those Anchorman bobbleheads. So terrific.
Yeah, so that's really cool. So 500 is the number. Back to Badshaw's question there. 500 is the number. Because a lot of things kind of go down in the YouTube world to just, again, as Boy Green always says, remove the fourth wall. One of the things we get to do once we're at 500 subscribers is we get to create our own kind of little VIP clubs. I know you guys obviously have the coffee club with Boy Green's channel, and you get to support him, and we're hoping you'll do the same thing and support our channel to give us the means to do more with with our channel, to spend more time with you guys, to come up with additional content that really, really matters. Also, Boy Green, I'll put it out there, even though we're not there yet, because we're closing in on 500, obviously only 40-ish subscribers away, we also can, at that point, have merch available to you. So some cool merch. And we have been working on cool logos. We've already got a cool name for our subscriber club that I think you'll dig. And we've got a really nice logo for that. And Boy Green, I can tell you and the listeners and the viewers that I have already ordered our first stash of merch. It's on its way to my house, and I should have it within the next few days. And once we get to 500, we obviously will display that. But definitely, not only will we give you opportunities to purchase merch, but I think once we get to 500 and we're able to create kind of our little cool VIP clubs, we will give away some of that merch. So that is in the cards as well. So you can be the first one, dare I say, to get our newly put out merch, our first level of merch. Really, it's fun to play with logos, to try to figure out what item makes a lot of sense, so on and so forth. So I think for item number one, and for the early stages here of our evolution, I think we've got a really cool item that people will want. And in some cases, people, just for jumping on the bandwagon quicker and being part of our family earlier, will get the benefit of getting for nothing, as they say. It'll be on the Manchild's dime, So, but I love to do that for people who support us. And it's been a short-ish journey, but it feels like an eternity being in this world, only 6 months and creating what we've already created. I told Boy Green the other day, we have put out, I should look at the current number. Here, I'll jump in my phone.
Yeah, go ahead. While you're doing that, I just want to answer a few people. I see Craig Mechanics says, love the show, Manchild and Boy Green. Thank you, Craig. He says he's watching Giant stuff for my boy because he's not tech savvy. So he's like translating whatever our Giants content is to his friend, which I love. And Troy Sturgis, a super chat. Thank you, Troy. That's another raffle ticket for my contest on the Boy Green channel. When is time for more to come out or not? Yes, I've been asking a lot of insiders around, Troy, draft experts. It is today, 100%. But when today? Again, he's on the West Coast. So is it 4 o'clock? Is it 6 o'clock tonight? We should know in the next couple of hours. And as soon as we do, I'll have a ton of content out, including we'll have a Jake Asman interview out with myself, Lurch, and Jake Asman reacting to that news. So we should have that video out later today as well after the news hits. So Troy, I'm as much on the edge of my seat as you are, and so are other Jet fans about the importance of that. And to your point on Trinidad, Chambliss, the Ole Miss quarterback, it sounds like he will be in the draft outside of him winning his legal battles at this point as he tries to apply for another year of eligibility. So he was already declined. He is going through the appeal process, but up until that, he will be in the draft process.
Yeah. Now, back to my point real quick. My point was, in roughly 180-ish days of existence in the YouTube world, we've already put out, as of today, once we close out this video, we'll add one to it, but 523 videos. So think about that for a second. We've put out over 500 videos in 180 days. I did the math, and it's a little bit under 3 videos a day that we are producing to keep content constantly flowing to our subscribers and to the people who are just taking a peek at our channel. So again, I think that number, as the future goes, will actually increase. And especially if we can monetize a little bit, and it's more worth our while more to be sitting in front of these cameras and these microphones and providing that content for you. So I think that number continues to grow. But I think it's remarkable, in all honesty, not to in all gloat or say anything that's, sounds arrogant in any way, that we've put out that much content in that short a time. So we'll continue to crank it out because we care about the things that we do cover, and hopefully you will gravitate more and more to some of the things that we're up to.
Yeah, so amazing. And it's a great place to be, and thank you to all the fans. And again, I'm constantly keeping an eye on it. So folks, we already gave away some cool stuff this week with our previous giveaway. So make sure you jump on the train, and we'll keep growing the Army.
Maybe, just maybe, I'll give them a peek at that merch as we get close.
Ooh, okay. When we get closer, we need to get closer, though.
We need to be much closer. Maybe I'll let it be the thing that puts us over the top. Gets us over the top, so to speak. All right, so that's to come. But we just have Paul and I have been doing a lot of talking off the air about how the evolution of the channel and how we make the channel bigger and better every single day. And we have some really, really terrific ideas that I think any of you who have subscribed and inevitably, hopefully, become part of our inner circle, our VIP clubs, will really see the great benefit in hanging with us and doing the things that we get to do every day. So it's a lot of fun. I hope you have a lot of fun while you're here. I know all of you that also commingle with Paul on his channel in the morning, every single morning. I know how much fun you guys have. I'm in there sometimes myself, checking out all the dialogue and everything that's going on. I cannot believe that whacked out draft thing you did the other day with those two draft nerds. Oh my God, man! Those guys, I felt like they both worked for NFL Draft NASA. The way they were talking about, we're going to do 10 mock drafts here, and second round we can't repeat anything, so it'll be completely unique. I was like, what the heck is going on with these guys? But it was fascinating and interesting, and I know you're a draft savant to yourself, not at that level, but you love talking about it, and you love analyzing it. I know a lot of people love the draft. I think over the years, I used to definitely be very like kind of anti-draft, but like all I cared about was the very top of the draft, or the first round picks. And I think even I've warmed quite a bit, where I like I'm becoming more and more intrigued by depth in the draft. Now, I am not like you, however, where I don't sit there on day 3 with bated breath and my slice of pizza and my beer next to me and like, oh, wow, cool. Wow, the Jets got this guy in the 6th round. Amazing. It's almost too overwhelming for me to get down to that kind of minutia where we're talking about players that have, all kinds of flaws, and we're trying to figure out whether they're going to be good NFL players. But definitely my interest in the draft over the years has increased, and my appetite and my thirst for more draft information, to talk to people who are really live and breathe in that world, has become more and more fascinating. Just like fantasy football, right? I mean, like, we started fantasy football, in all due respect, even winning that first year in our league, as you were just saying. Jamie wants to discount me for that. He can go, pound rocks. But the fact of the matter is, that year, I was totally a neophyte in terms of my knowledge, my ability to process information, understand everything. And I learned so much in that first year and the second year and even into the third year. I'm a completely different animal now from fantasy. And I love powwowing with guys like Joe Bartle and Brian Drake and anybody else in the fantasy world that we've had on over the years, because I'm fascinated by the way they think about things versus the way I think about things. And now I do know all the players, and I do look at the rookies, and I do have to be in front of the curve, and I do mock drafts, which I used to laugh about when you would tell me, oh, I've done 10 mock drafts. I was like, why? It's not the way our draft's going to go. Why do you care?
Yeah, right.
And now I find myself in the same rooms doing those same mock drafts, trying to figure out what I think is going to happen. So it's whack, man. It's just totally whack. But the draft is very much like that. Fantasy and the draft in some weird way are kind of similar animals in that, you can really get into the minutia if you want, and then you walk in feeling like you're much more knowledgeable. So it's been a really cool ride. So for all you coffee clubbers who are in there every morning and watching that crazy stuff, hey, kudos, man. I tip my cap to you. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Passion,
right? We're passionate about the things that we're passionate about. But while listen, you all know I love the Giants. Okay. That's the team that I root for in football. But I think one of the things that at least has made me unique as a sports fan is that while ultimately I always, have my teams, I also am I find myself to be a very open sports fan, where I can root for other things. I can root for other teams. I can wish the Jets to do well. I really can. I don't have to be this. For some Giant fans are just like, it's just all hate. It's just all like, no way, I hate the Jets. And, I think part of moving to central New York from New York City, when I lived in New York City, I was a Met fan. I had Yankee friends. When we were talking about those two teams, we hated each other. It was like left and right. It was like Jake and us right now, on the Aaron Glenn thing. That's what it was. It was every day. Oh, you suck. No, you suck. No, you suck. No, you suck. That was the way it was. And, but when I moved out of New York, okay, and I came to central New York, which is a little more neutral, dare I say, we're only 2 hours from the Bills. We're now an equivalent, 4.5 to 5 hours from the Jets and the Giants. It just became like, all right, there's a community here that clearly have their lines, but it's not like being down in New York City where it's very, very black and white. It's more gray. And so I think I don't know, I softened, I was more accepting of things. And I think like I've kind of evolved as a sports personality that I feel that way more. So, I think always the best thing that you can be when you do one of these kinds of shows, whether you're on television, whether you're like us on YouTube, whether you're on the radio like we were for years, is you just have to be your genuine self. You have to be who you are. I'm never going to come to these airways and not be who I am. And if that's not what you like, then you're obviously not going to stay. And if it is what you like, then you're going to stay and enjoy it. So that's the way I look at it. I always think it's about being your genuine self. You are genuinely an insane Jets nut. I have tried to bring you back to reality for all the years we've worked together. Can you just see it from this perspective? I think even times I've made some. I've made a little progress with you. I'm like, oh, but, and you're like, all right, yeah, you're probably right, So even I've got him to say probably right a couple of times, but, you live and breathe where you live, and I'm a different beast. So I think that's what makes us interesting, hopefully. To
sure. Yeah.
We're not just one thing talking from one pulpit. We can debate, we can argue, we can agree and disagree. I think that's part of the beauty of it. All right, enough about philosophy. I think we've done a good job covering everything that we could cover today. We will be back on Friday with our NFL picks. As you heard Paul say, we are waiting on the Dante Moore decision, and then we will quickly convene with Jake Asman as quickly as he can at his convenience and our convenience, and we will put out a video for all you Jets nuts on the Dante Moore decision, whether it's good or bad. I think it's going to be good. I think he's declaring, but all right, we'll see if he does. We'll get Jake's take on all of that with our Jets insider. We have Anthony Prohaska as usual tomorrow morning, so we'll get that out to you as soon as we finish up that interview and NFL picks, as I mentioned, playoff style. Both Paul and I had very good weeks in week 1 of the playoffs, so we got ourselves a battle as the slate has been wiped clean here in our NFL picks. So all the usuals and all the usual suspects coming your way. And, of course, if anything happens with the Giants and John Harbaugh today, you'll see me again. You'll see me again for sure. I'll be back out here. I'll be back in front of this microphone and in front of this camera telling you anything and everything I think about it, which is going to be a lot of glory, a lot of glorious moments here that we've found a coach that I think can take this ship and steer it to someplace much better than we've been in recent years. So looking forward to a decision one way or the other on Harbaugh so that we can move forward in terms of what's going on with this Giants coaching situation. Boy Green, final thoughts, if you have any. Go ahead.
And it's this, despite the fantasy football stuff from earlier, as much as this disgusts me, this piece of evidence I'm throwing here on the screen, and I can throw that aside, as much as that makes me sick, today could be a seismic day both in Giants and Jets franchise history, with Harbaugh potentially not leaving the building and being the next head coach, bring stability and all kinds of wonderfulness to Big Blue. And then for the Jets, the Dante Moore's inclusion or not exclusion in the 2026 NFL draft and how that can shape the entire Jets' immediate future is massive. So we will see. It could be a seismic day for both of us. So yes, folks, you have not seen the last of either of us today. We're definitely coming through. Whether it's good or bad news on Dante Moore, we'll be here with that Jake Asman conversation here on the channel shortly thereafter, and more conversation to come. We might even get some basketball this week with Sean Devaney or Neo Adler. So we'll have some of that extra content as well. So just stay tuned to the channel, and thanks for all the support, everybody.
All right. Peace out, everybody. Take care.